Life is pain. Oblivion alone yields peace. You call me stranger. I call myself salvation.
The love of a god is not a blessing, it's a scar.
If destiny herself beckons me, then I shall greet her like an old lover.
There's gotta be more to life than making mistakes and making up for your mistakes.
I'm the paragon of risk and reward, behaving as more of a suggestion.
Fate is an offer I intend to reject.
You don't know me. I'm unpredictable, bitch.
I don't need to be a paragon to help save the world.
I came back for a reason, and I am not stopping until I find it.
I will solve the cataclysm, and I'll solve the mystery of myself, too. 4 paragons, 4 keepers, 1 stranger. Huh. Odds are in our favor. Now let's go save Endake.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Arc 8, Episode 4 of The Second Stranger, Transplanar RPG's main D&D campaign. I am your game master and executive producer, Connie. My pronouns are they, he, and she, and I'm so excited for you all to be witnessing, the midpoint of our final arc for this dark fantasy, all-trans POC-led D&D campaign. I can't wait. It's fighty time, bitches. You can find me all across the internet at ByConnieChang. That's ByConniechang. And before I terrorize the chat any longer, I'm going to pass along introductions up and over to Valiant Dorian.
Hi, I am Valiant Terrified Dorian. As I am terrified by Connie's antics every single week, I use he, him, his pronouns. And this evening, I have the great pleasure of playing Voska, the Paragon Nebusa, who uses she, they pronouns, who is interrupted bit concert, which I think is very, very rude of Oblivion. You can find me all around the internet at Valiant Dorian or at Odds of Spearbear. Please enjoy that incredible treasure hunt I just set you on. And I'm going to pass introductions over on to Dare.
Hi, I'm Dare, pronouns she, they, fae. I am playing Gentle, pronouns they, them. I'm going to be punching things mostly. I'm just going to punch my way through the end of the world. And you can find me on all places on the internet at Dare to Dream RPG. That is DARE, the number 2, DREAM RPG. I'm going to throw it over to Erica.
Hi everybody, I'm Erica. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm playing Vasanti Noxurzo, who is using the power of honesty these days, whatever that means. She also uses she, her pronouns. You can find me on Twitch, where I stream a lot of roleplay stuff on the Wild RP as a gay cowboy, at Erica Please, that's Erica PLZ, or you can find me on Twitter at Erica Newgirl. I'm going to pass it on to Quinn.
Hi, hello, I'm Quinn, and my pronouns are they, them. Today I'll be playing Sitlali, your local grave cleric and paladin of the weave. And you can find me and more of what I'm about over on Twitter at Quintastic_. And I will be passing intros over to Max.
I am Max. My pronouns are they, them. I play Dewey Quirk. He's just jarring it up, as always. Save his friends with the power of jar. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Starchmonger, and I'll pass things over to Hamda.
Yes, hello. My name is Hamda. I use any and all pronouns, and I'm playing the other jar, Jaron Gather, who uses they, he pronouns, who is good, not a monster jar, just a regular jar. I don't know where I'm going with this. See?
I don't even know. Hi, everyone. My name is C. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me making very trans, very gay on the internet at Pie Sharp Art. Tonight, I am playing your beloved Oka. Maybe if I kiss the big bad enough times, it'll turn into my boyfriend, Hien. It's doing quite fine. They're totally fine. Don't worry about it. And I am super excited to pass things back to Valiant Dorian for our sponsorship. Thank yous.
I am more than happy to carry on that sponsorship spiel because we're so proud to announce that this episode of The Second Stranger is sponsored by at Dimitri Opines at Explain Trade, a negotiation skills training consultancy, believing in the power of D&D and Transplanar's potential to grow, tell great stories, and lift our community up. Explain Trade trains negotiators for government, big companies, NGOs, and offers e-learning courses for individuals looking to get a better deal from their boss. Please unionize and check them out at explaintrade.com. And we've got a bunch of other folks to thank. So, Erica, who else do we have to thank?
Yes, we love to thank those who have donated to our Patreon. These are our Patreon paragons who have donated at the highest tier, and for that we thank you. Those folks are Alex, Ozra, Brooke Bright, Charles, Chilakras, Cora Eckert, Emma, Hat, Conding, Lex Slater, Purple Mouse, Scruffuses, and Target. Thank you so very much. And now, Quinn, my favoriteest part is when you explain to Grandma Erica what happened last time.
Last time on The Second Stranger, the god spine is obliterated and the oceans are evaporated. Sitlali and Gentle go to Dabathati and re-recruit Old Mama Lightning. Vasca does a soul checkup on Jiran and Vasanti and finds out that Jiran will become an empty monster if he doesn't remove Mother's blessing. And Vasanti will too, since she linked her fate to his. Telepathy gives a speech at the final supper where he explains that he met Oblivion. That's fine and normal. And everyone exchanges friendship bracelets to break the tension. Oka and Abiku go upstairs to try dream walking together and find themselves pulled back to Tungal. Oblivion pulls a gotcha on Oka as they pretend to be Dr. O, which, they could have seen coming. But Abiku is pulled away by Salki and the Titanic ancestors. Meanwhile, the Paragon cert begins. Dewey goes on a recon mission to the URL to get Forge and Lilith. All at once, they zap to center stage just as Oblivion pile drives Oka face first into the now. Use the exclamation point recap command in chat to reach our full written recap document. And see, how about those content warnings for today? What do we got on our plate?
Yeah, so we have pile drives into the face first of the now. We also have content warnings for this episode, which include fantasy violence, apocalypse, trauma and grief, depictions of war, body horror, monsters and monstrosity, Jiran, gore, blood and bloodletting, death of loved ones, complex and complicated relationships, romance and references to sexual entanglements, and eldritch abominations. Use exclamation point CW in chat to get a look at our content warnings at any time, and exclamation point safety to learn about the cast's lines and veils to know what territory we will never get into, no matter how dark things get. And I will pass things over to Connie for the most terrifying part of our announcements.
That's correct. So everybody right now, please make your fate rolls, which is of course a straightforward, or should I say gay forward, D20 with no modifiers whatsoever. Unrelated to this fate roll, everyone please direct your attention to the doom and fortune tracker we have here over on our overlay. Ooh, I'm looking the wrong direction. There we go. So once per session, our PCs up until this point have made a war effort roll, right? To push the tracker back and forth until doom strikes or fortune smiles on the world. But before we get there, I want to know, what did everyone get on your fate rolls? Let's start with Gentle.
Oh, wow. First, 15.
15 from Gentle. Let's go to Oka.
14.
14. Let's go to Voska.
17.
17. Vasanti.
Nat 20.
Oh, nice. Let's go to Dewey.
12.
12. Respectable. Jiran.
Also a respectable 12.
Oh my god! Godjar LLC! Being very average together. I love that. And Sitlali?
Natural 20.
Oh, I love that. Our casters. The 20s from our casters. Loving it. Cool. So, as a reminder, last episode, 6 of you, except for Oka and Abiku, who were in the Dream Realm, made war effort rolls, while the other 2 obviously were trapped elsewhere. And based on your combined efforts, the Doom and Fortune tracker have moved 4 places toward Fortune. So congratulations, Fortune is indeed smiling upon the party. So, full disclosure, in advance of this episode, I did roll a D8 on the Fortune Smiles table, and I did, in fact, get an 8 on Fortune Smiles. So I'm going to roll that D8 twice. That's what that means, because I got an 8 on Doom and 8 on Fortune, which I think is very serendipitous. I shit you not. And I'm going to roll it twice to see what 2 boons your party will be blessed by as we start this episode. Okay. Okay, that's the first one. Okay, so I can tell you one of the boons up front, and the other one you'll have to discover during the episode. So the first boon all of you are going to get is until the end of this arc, all damage any of you deal is going to be max damage. So there's no need to roll. There's no need to roll damage. To calculate this, just look at how many dice and just multiply them together. So if you're rolling 4d8, just do 4 times 8. It's gonna be max damage. And like I said, the second was gonna be revealed during the episode. So make a note of that, ladies and gays. I don't know why I said it like that, but I'm excited. I'm kind of scared. Okay, with that out of the way, we are going to move on to the title of this episode, which is, of course, from the poem Eulogy for a Dying World, written by yours truly. And the title is Demolished by Blood. The full verse reads as follows. The sky, this endless heaven, this weather of gold and stars, the unyielding divinity is shrinking. By the hoofbeat, by the coiling leap of each startled cricket, the sky is shrinking. A string of birds tosses heavenward, shaving tailwind to outfly the end of all things. The winnowing sky folds the flock into hollow void. The forgotten wind whispers across the golden temple, demolished by blood. Thunder caresses the earth. Horses flood the fields, hides gleaming with sweat to outrun the end of all things. The diminishing heaven closes its hand around the herd clasped tight. Smaller, smaller, the holiness becomes, shriveling, withering, like a trampled blossom. One horse remains, running like faith, running like it's the last thing she'll ever do. The sun is swallowed. The stars close out. The final sadness rings into nothing. The last horse runs, galloping, galloping, circling the shrinking sky, circling, circling, pacing, pacing, until the sky is around her. Until there is nowhere left to go. Until she can't turn, can't move, collapses inward, and nothing remains. All of this screaming, blood, rapture, ash, smoke, fear, hatred, courage, resolve, desperate magic, all of this for me? Your final stand, your purpose, your destiny, your doom. You're doing all of this for me. What is this? Cedar? Cypress? I can hear the echoes of the trees they used to be, cut, fitted, sanded, sealed into this stage for little old me. A pavilion, an awning, a roof, even come blood, rain, or shine. I'm touched. Truly, I am touched. You even have my actors. Lilith, what do you think of the blocking? I'm impressed they fit all 8 of our performers on this stage. The serpent is here. The paradise.
The nightmare, even the somber gravedigger, has made an appearance. They don't look so good. Oh, but they were our worthiest, weren't they, Lilith? Is this really the best we can do? Look at all the stops they pulled out for us. Well, we must repay them. We must repay you. All of you for your very fine efforts. I can't have my actors sleepwalking through closing night. They must be present. We must be present. All of us. You understand? That's the purpose of all of this. You must never give up. You must never surrender. You must struggle until the bitter end. Let's start the game. And Oblivion, still pinning Oka against the ground in front of the stage, flings their arms upward in a grand gesture toward the blood-red horizon, flecks of translucent ash streaming past their face. And appearing in the sky, visible to each and every one of you, is a giant, glowing 8. Everyone, except Abiku, roll initiative. Okay, let's start with Dewey.
17.
17 from Dudu. Vasanti?
14.
14? Voska?
I'm still emotionally recovering from what you just said. Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. Oka?
21.
21. Sitlali?
26.
Whoa, 26. Gentle?
18.
18 from Lovely Gentle. And Jaron?
22.
22. Wow, okay, so Sitlali definitely clears the field, so you would go first. Oh. No. That won't do. I don't like that. I want the weak ones to go first. Voska. You're a bard. Flimsy. You fold with one hit. Why don't you go first? And Voska, we're gonna bump you up in the initiative order, so you're gonna go first. What do you do?
Why you gotta do me dirty like that? Why you gotta do me dirty like that? Parable is sat on the ground. The dart lying on the floor. And throughout Oblivion's observations, Voska is singularly focused on Oka, pinned to the ground. Oka needs to get out. And Voska flips her hair up and meets Oblivion's gaze directly and says, "Certainly. Let's dance." And I would like to attempt to kick the dart of Parable up and launch it onto where Oblivion is gripping Oka to split them apart.
So your intention is to split them and get between them, I assume, to protect Oka?
Yep.
Okay. Are you trying to harm Oblivion during this or just separate them?
I am prioritizing separating them, but if it pricks them, I'm not going to complain.
Okay, I think that's gonna be an acrobatics check.
All right. May I give myself bardic inspiration?
Absolutely, go for it. This is the final boss fight.
2 d20s, let's go. I need it.
Girl, what?
From Parable. You gave me... Parable gives me a d20 as bardic inspiration die.
It only goes up to d12. Okay, go for it.
So that is a 26 plus 5 is...
31?
31.
First roll of combat against Apocalypse is a 31, folks.
Let's
31.
Go. I needed it.
You fling Parable forward, trying to cut between Oblivion and where their knees are pinning Oka down.
And Parable, this rope dart, flies through the air, and Oblivion catches it. And as she does, a memory flashes across your mind's eye, sort of just pulses down the length of the rope and hits you, and it's like a heartbeat, and you see a Triton woman brought to heel, pinned under the flashing steel of a midnight blue tiefling's blade. And instead of Oblivion and Oka, you see Atalanta and Cain. And this image glitches, fades, and reveals the truth once more. Oka pinned underneath the stranger. You've been here before, Voska, desperate to help a loved one. And Oblivion holding this rope dart has clearly jolted that memory down the line into your head. And as soon as you're back, you get the sense that she saw that memory as well. Oh, right. Your whole thing is love, or something like that, right? I think that's quite admirable, but I'm not quite sure about its value in the face of, well, me. And she flicks the rope dart, but she does rise off of Oka. Like, she's no longer interested in the blood hunter pinned underneath her, and all of her focus is now fixed on you. And as Parable whirls through the air, I think you're able to like catch it again and like whirl it if you want. Like, it's back in your hand. And Oblivion begins to float off the ground, 5 feet, 10 feet up into the air, looking down at you. What do you do, Voska? What do you say?
Voska, for the quickest of glances, throws one at Oka. And in that one glance, pans over to where Jiran is. And as she is twirling Parable in her hands, she says, "There is no point in existence in the face of Oblivion if we do not love. So surely in the face of you, all that is left, prolonging beyond aeons, is love." Snaps Parable back and is, for the first time ever, Voska is ready to just dance with Oblivion.
Oh, wonderful. Beautifully said. Glorious. And Oblivion like pulls her arms out and actually twirls in midair like a conductor in the middle of like some sort of symphony. And like Dr. Luso's hair sort of like comes undone from its usually very put together like formation, and it just sort of like gets a little messy. And as she turns around and looks back down at you again, Voska, you see that those like bright blue eyes are just glimmering with glee, with happiness, with the closest thing to joy that you think an entity that literally embodies entropy could experience. And Voska, as your eyes dart from Oka to Jiran, is there any sort of message you're trying to convey to Oka about what's happening or what you think they should do next?
I believe just before everything went to hell, there was some shit happening with Jiran, and Voska clocked it just before, like seconds before. And I think within that glance, actually, if you would allow me, Connie, Voska just shoots a message.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
The cantrip, yeah, and just sends a message to Oka, and she says, "Jiran needs you just like he needed you in Morose. It's up to you now."
Ooh. Is that the end of your turn, Voska? Oblivion's eyes are certainly all fixed on you.
Absolutely. Let's dance, baby. Let's go.
Okay, so at the end of your turn, I need you to make me a defense roll. So this is how you're trying to weave through the battlefield and shrug off damage, anything like that. How are you trying to weather this encounter with Oblivion?
Can I be cheeky? And I think Voska is literally playing... I mean, she was picked out for being a bard. So she's going to bard it up. Her defense is her offense. So she is swinging Parable like a dancer as a way of distracting Oblivion with her dance, and is just encircling her and darting between all of that space. She's just blocking and stage directing herself on the ground. She'll make this battlefield her stage.
Okay, so, then I think that's going to be a charisma save for performance-wise. Let's see what you get.
+11, let's go, baby. Natural 17 for a 28.
Oh my god. That's really good. So as you're gaining attention from Oblivion, also from the eyes that are blinking all across the horizon above your head, you see a couple of them begin to light up, and several of the pillars shoot down, pierce through this protective bubble that is surrounding the stage that I think off to the corner, like by Dalapati Said's homestead, we see Emperor Seongzhen sustaining, pierces through the barrier and hits you. So you are going to take 20 points of necrotic damage from one beam and 15 points of force damage from the other. So that's 35 total.
Understood.
Okay.
That's my turn.
Wonderful. We see Voska beginning to like weave this dance parable, flinging all around her in a protective dome, but then these two beams come down and zap her. After the dust settles and like the stage clears, we see scorch marks on the wood underfoot, and Voska's still going. So next up is going to be Sitlali. So we're gonna... I don't think so. Let's see. You're not doing so well, aren't you? And Oblivion's gonna turn and look at Jiran, who's kind of off in the wings on one side of the stage. And Jiran, I think you're hunched over, maybe even on your knees from pain, as Mother's Blessing continues to corrode and crack your soul open. Why don't you go next? And Jiran, it is your turn. At the top of your turn, my beloved, your body begins to change. Why don't you tell us how it mutates?
Okay. I think Jiran is, as you mentioned, on his hands and knees, hunched over. His perception, I think, going a little bit hazy, right? He is, I think, slipping in and out of this emptiness and the present of the stage of keeping track of everything that's happening. And I think as he's there, he starts to first notice that his hands start to elongate, claws start to form on his fingers as he's there, and he's looking at his arms, confused at what's happening. And before he knows it, I think his body starts to elongate as if it was a snake or a serpent or a dragon of some kind, and other arms start to come out to the side. And Jiran can't see it, but they can feel it. That on their face, which also I think similarly is like elongating, shaping, moving away from the shape of a humanoid to something that is more angular, I think is the best way to describe it. All along his face, eyes start to open one by one, just one on the cheek, one on the other cheek, just all down his face. And even his mouth starts to open in this like thin, wide smile that goes up like much further than it should, almost bisecting their face in two different parts as they start to monsterify.
Yep. It's very obvious that your body is sort of contorting and like cracking and malforming into a completely different creature, right? You're almost unrecognizable as your face begins to elongate, as eyes wink open across your skin, as your mouth tears wide, beginning to show these like sharp, rending, gripping teeth. And Jiran, I think inside yourself, it's almost like you're like falling into some sort of deep slumber or something. You're starting to feel very like detached from your body, like you're seeing your hands elongate, but they're getting farther and farther and farther away from you, like you're almost sinking into some sort of like dreamscape here, right? And pain isn't the right word for how it feels as your body begins to crack toward monstrosity, which is almost scarier than if it was painful, I think. And there's like a moment where inside you, your gut is telling you like, this is it. Like, this is it. It is either turn into a monster
or become keeper. Like there's no, it is this or that. And while this is happening to you simultaneously, along that thread that links you to Vasanti, on the other side of this battlefield, on the other side of the stage where Vasanti's throwing up pyrotechnics, Vasanti, your soul crumbles. And I think as like a little like sparkle of a green flame like leaves your hand as you're still throwing up these fireworks, like it sputters and pain seizes the interior of your solar plexus. And you just, like there's almost like a shuddering sensation through you as the bond, the promise that you've made to each other starts to kick in. So Duran, as you monsterfy, what do you do?
Duran fights to keep hold of himself, I think. They try and pull on this thread that is connecting them with Vasanti. I think that's the only thing grounding them in this moment, and they're trying to pull on it, tug on it, almost not even thinking about whether or not that physically hurts Vasanti, because they are desperate and they're trying to like use it almost like a rope to pull themselves back into their consciousness and to accept keepership. They want it. They're ready.
So it's kind of like you're sinking into this dreamscape, which I think at this point you understand it's not a dreamscape. This is the nothing. You're sinking into the nothing, which has opened up inside your own soul, and you're flinging out a hand trying to tug onto that connection. And in your mind's view, you see two hands interlaced, interwoven, like roots of a tree branch that are entangled with each other, come down. The arm of Scotadectus come down, almost like they're trying to pull you up and out of it. So what do you say we're due to try to entreat the gods?
I think Duran holds out their own hand, like, to reach theirs, and I think they manage to, like, brush their fingers up against the fingers of Scotadectus, and they say, I choose love. I choose the people that I love.
And Nectis says, I am so sorry. And Scod says, you're too far gone. As the dark begins to close in, and together they say, your soul is too corrupted.
No, I can still make it. Please, let me. And I think Duran, like, tries to, like, grab onto their hands.
It's like being in quicksand. The more you struggle, the more the empty pulls you in deeper. And they just say, this risk was miscalculated, and we are so sorry. And as we pull out from like your mind's eye view, tell me how the monstrosity begins to solidify over your form.
Duran's form, I think, stops to really even be almost, it's still corporeal, but it doesn't look like it is. I think it starts to look like it is made of like empty shadow and void, and the eyes that are all along his face, too many of them, are now like blood red, the same color as the stranger's eyes. And every time they like open their mouth or move their fingers, I think there's like sinew, like connecting, like thin strands of sinew that like connect all the different parts of their body.
Yep. And as the monster Duran, because I think Duran is now sinking into the empty, and now monster Duran is coming to the forefront, what do you do?
Oh, I think monster Duran is kind of an antithesis to regular Duran, aren't they? Whereas Duran cares so very deeply about everybody that they love, and they would do anything to protect them. Anything at all, even hurt themselves. I think monster Duran is angry. Everything that's ever gone wrong, everything that's ever happened, well, that's your fault, isn't it? You didn't listen every time I tried to say so, every time I tried to help, every time I tried to... Nobody saw it my way. And yet I was right, wasn't I? I was right all along. And I think right now that anger, they look around the battlefield and they see Oka. And I think they bound towards Oka, and they try, and before, whereas Oblivion had pinned them to the ground, Oka's already on the ground. Monster Duran pins Oka to the ground. And I think you see this, like, elongated, shadowy, monstrous like face looming over your own, and their like long tongue, I think, like lolls out of their mouth. And normally, where you would expect to see saliva, instead you see mother's blood. Black and thick like blood, and it drips down from their tongue onto you, onto your chest, I think, right on your solar plexus where that scar is. And I would like to use Corrupt. Mother's blood, I think, like flows onto you and starts to seep into your skin, attempting to corrupt you, Oka, doing 35 necrotic damage, and you have disadvantage on your next defense roll.
Yep, that just happens. So as Mother's blood seeps out of your jaws and pours onto Oka, where it hits you, Oka, it's like globules of acid like singeing away at your skin, not just your physical form, but at your soul too. It tortures the spirit as Duran's looming over you, huge shadowy face. Is there even a glimpse of that loved one left within those multifaceted crimson eyes? And above all of this, Oblivion twirls and laughs and looks at Voska and says, beautiful, immaculate, radiant, lucent love, perverted. Isn't that wonderful? And Duran is at the end of your turn.
It is, but I think you're gonna tell me to do this, so I'll just let you explain what I need to do at the end of my turn.
So as a monster, Duran, at the end of your turn, instead of using your defense roll normally, like the rest of our PCs, you're gonna have to roll to succumb. So do you want to read out what is written there?
Yeah, do you want me to read the whole thing? Because it's very scary.
Go for it. Do it.
At the end of your turn, you use your defense roll to struggle against the blessing that's devouring your psyche. Make a death saving throw at disadvantage. If you die this way, the consciousness that was Duran Gather is no more and you become fully monstrous. Tear up your character sheet. If you succeed, erase all attempts and start making death saving throws again at double disadvantage. Roll 3 dice and take the lowest. It gets worse every time, so I'm gonna roll that now.
Go for it. Make your death save with disadvantage.
What is this? 17 and 19.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's a success. So you get to mark a success. Wow. The first time Humna's ever rolled like above a 15 on a roll.
I know. It's wild.
Wonderful. Okay. So at the end of your turn, Duran, we're finally gonna go over to Sitlali.
Are we really though? Okay. Is it for real? For real? Cool. Do I get to do things? I like that even precepts bully the cleric. I love that for me. So like, over the table, above the table, do we know when precepts are fucking with us like that? Or is that just a player thing?
The boundaries are porous, so when Oblivion says stuff, that is in character, and it's sort of like in the fiction, like the momentum goes to whoever Oblivion conducts the momentum toward, like in the narrative itself. Like you get a bit of like a tailwind behind you. Like they're literally conducting this fight, like an orchestra.
So can Sitlali perceive that?
I think so. I think you can perceive that Oblivion's powers are like literally reality bending.
Cool. Good to know. I'm sorry, noted. So Sitlali is just kind of looking up at Oblivion like, why the fuck you gonna skip me twice? Okay, motherfucking goddamn fucking some choice words in Raven speech. Turns her attention to the stage, to Lilith and Dewey. And is just kind of like not turning, like not paying attention to Oblivion. I think the first thing Sitlali is going to do is cast Beacon of Hope on literally every single ally. It's any number of creatures within range, and you've given me a limitless range, so literally every single ally that we have will get this.
Am I an ally? I would just like this clarified.
Yes. So everybody gets advantage on whiz saves and death saves and regains max HP possible from any healing while this is up.
Was that death saves or dex saves?
Death. Like
so it would
dying.
cancel out.
Yeah. So I think what that looks like is Sitlali just kind of like clocks Lilith and is like, I'm gonna deal with you in a minute. Is ignoring Oblivion because I want to fight you, but like that's old Sitlali fighting words. I don't have time for this emotionally right now. And then just kind of like runs their hands through the air around them, and like the weave fucking vibrates with so much intensity. And then as they cast, it just kind of like shoots out and across the battlefield, I think, to touch everybody. I think it's powerful enough. I think that the emotions are high enough that like it's visible. So it's just like an explosion of pastels just kind of go out from their chest.
Cool. Is there anything else you're trying to do with your turn?
Not on this turn. I think on this turn, Sitlali is just trying to protect everybody and give like some boost, some.
You got it. Yeah, you got it. So, Sitlali, at the end of your turn, I need you to make your defense roll. So how are you sort of like weathering the blows from the eyes, like Oblivion's sort of like twirling mania as they're looking at everything with that strange void glee? The entropic beasts, of course, who are restrained on stage. Jaron, how are you trying to deal with all of this?
I think Sitlali is starting to move towards the stage and is just like using an old mask, but with purpose for once. They're very disaffected by all of this. They're not impressed by Oblivion. They think Oblivion is kind of, oh, that's it? You're a precept? Cool, I was a precept once. You're not special. Anyway. And it's just like disaffected by everything. Just very unaffected, very bored, very, I've seen this before. Like, you can't faze me.
So you're trying to put on a mask?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's gonna be a charisma save.
We like those. 28.
Cool, very similar to Voska. Got it. So, as you're trying to make your way toward the stage and putting on this mask of like, you're not affected by this, you're just trying to keep your shit together and protect people and get shit done here. You hear a voice coming from above the battlefield just sort of go, oh, Sitlali. You're the one that Lilith threw into her false simulacrum of a garden. You experienced what you think is precepthood, didn't you?
I mean, I suppose. It wasn't that great.
A child's sand castle of what the sky could be. Let me just give you a taste of real perceptual power now, shall I?
And Sitlali, for maybe a tenth of a second, you experience it. The real thing. Not what you experienced in Lilith's garden of being the tree, the rock, the rabbit, and the fox, the stream, the air. Not that. That's child's play. You experience everything, everywhere, all at once. And you are going to take 70 points of psychic damage from that tenth of a second. And we're gonna move on. So when Sitlali is done, we're gonna go over actually now to Oka.
Holy fuck, I'm so stressed out. All right. As this all goes down, Oka meets Voska's gaze as she sends them that message. And for a split second when they blink, it's Atalanta's eye looking back at you for half a second before their gaze turns, just in time to see Jaron as a fucked up empty monster barrel them down and onto the ground as it bleeds down onto them and corrodes their soul. And I think that Celian part of themselves that was corrupted by mother's blood, that it happened. It knows what that is, like this animal, violent, primal fear reaction takes over Oka's entire body, and I think their legs turn into the hind legs of a Celian for half a second to like punch up and into like Monster Jaron's stomach to almost like flip him up and over. Is gonna be the first thing that I do.
Okay, so I think that's actually going to be from Oka an athletics or an acrobatics check. Up to you.
Give me that acrobatics check, baby. Okay, beautiful. That is a 24.
That is sufficient. So, John, you're not going to take damage from that, but you do get punted off on top of Oka.
And they scramble, and this is not right. This primal fear is still kind of coursing through them, and they can feel their own heartbeat starting to judder into the same rhythm as Monster Jiran's, because they intrinsically linked their heartbeats with Kane and Jiran in the last session. So their heart starts to jackrabbit, and there's part of them that wants to like tug on that, but they know they need to stop him again. Why again? They need him. He needs them. And one of the blood halos kind of falls down and forward in front of Oka's face and opens up. And as Oka gets themselves up, almost like in a track run position, and then like jets toward where Monster Jiran just got punted off of them, as they pass through the sphere of Prism, I pre-rolled for what I turn into, my Prism form, as Oka comes out the other side in a crack of lightning and storm clouds, as they become a gargantuan tempest elemental in the form of a gigantic wolf-like being with 3 sets of limbs made of roiling storm clouds and thunder and red bolts of lightning, and they plow into Jiran like 2 continents hitting each other with the full force of their body.
If I may, I think as you like were coming at them and you were like transforming into this gargantuan storm wolf being, I think when you pushed them off, Jiran was kind of like hunched on all fours is maybe a misnomer given how many limbs they have, but on all of their limbs, I think their tail like flicked into multiple tails, like into like a fox with 9 tails. And as you bound into them, I think their body changes in size to match yours as well. And they grow to, like you said, 2 continents mashing into each other.
You got it. Do I have, does that count as my action, or do I also get to attack?
You get to attack, for sure. Yes, for sure. Beautiful. So make your attack, roll that d20 to see if you get a nat in either way, and tell me what that max damage is, my good friend.
Yep, I'm gonna use my multi-attack. I'm gonna make 2 thunderous slams at you, my friend. I do not crit on the first or second one. And you are going to take 66 thunder damage as Oka slams into you with their entire force, and you are going to take an additional 40 points of radiant damage on top of that, as Radiant Soul auto-activates when they use Prism.
I have a question. Is that 40 points like base? I am vulnerable to radiant damage, so is that actually 80 points of radiant damage?
I think it would be. We double it.
I need everybody to know I'm at 4 HP.
I love that. Okay, Oka, you slam into Jiran, and as you do, with like all 6 of your limbs roiling with thunder, right, lightning crackling off of your fur, off of Jiran's multi-eyed face, this collision of titans, and this radiant energy also explodes off of you, right, a vestige of your celestial ancestry. You see the storm ripping like parts of Shadow Wisp off of Jiran. Like, Jiran looks real fucked up now as a monster, and like the shadows keep trying to rebuild themselves, right, but like your storm and your radiance keep ripping them away. So Jiran is fluctuating between gargantuan to huge to small to gargantuan to large to medium to like is sort of like unstably fluctuating between all these different sizes underneath your huge rending claws. Are you going to attack them again?
No, that was both of my attacks.
Got it.
Okay, But I am going to say in this like double layered voice that sounds like a rolling storm cloud coming in from miles and miles and miles away. Let go of him. And then a smaller voice that sounds like their own, like a peal, a crack of lightning. Don't leave me. Please don't leave me. And that'll be my turn. Thank you.
I love that. You hear a voice toward the end of your turn, a familiar one, go, Oka? Tron. And we see, like, having run off from the stage and, like, at the edge of this collision of literal giant monsters is Kane. This, like, midnight blue tiefling who's looking up at the two of you, like their hair billowing in every direction from the storm clouds, right? Bits of white ash falling from the sky and also bits of malformed shadow peeling off of Duran's body, streaking past them, right? Their robes billowing, and there's this look of just like abject desperation on their face that's cracked through that usually very confident mask they have on. And I think both of you hear their like plaintive cry up at the two of you. So Oka, on your defense roll now that I'm going to ask for, you're going to have an advantage. And I think that cancels out the disadvantage that Duran gave you, right, from earlier. So you're just going to roll normal. How are you trying to weather the blows from Duran?
Weather the blow is, I think, the correct turn of phrase, considering that I'm a being made entirely of a storm. So I'm just trying to lean on the fact that I am a super powered god beast right now.
Okay.
So Constitution, if I may.
Go for it. Yes, make a con save.
15.
Oh, yeah, that's not gonna cut it. Duran, I'll let you dish the damage. You have, I think, 2 damage dealing moves. You can just use one of them for free, given that 15 con save, and deal the damage that makes sense.
Okay. In that case, you will take 20 points of piercing damage and 40 points of poison damage for a total of 60.
Okie doke, you got it.
Wonderful. Okay, so as these titans brawl and clash and roll like across the battlefield with Kane shouting up at their 2 loved ones, we're gonna pan to the next person in the initiative order, who's gonna be Gentle.
Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is a fun move I've been holding on for like a level or 2 called Empty Body. Love being a monk. So, I can spend 4 key points to become invisible, and I gain resistance to all damage types with force for a minute. This is just a little fun thing I've been holding on to. So yeah, I think essentially what it manifests like is you just see Gentle like focusing all of their like energy and breathing inward. And almost like you see just sort of a thin layer, almost like air materializing over them. And then they just like hold their breath and just like slowly blink out. And
Is this while you're flying through the air, like streaming confetti? Because I think that's what we said you were doing last session.
Yes, I think I stopped dropping the confetti and I just flat out disappear up in the air. And that is an action, so I'm not able to throw any punches this turn. But
well, tell me what your
invisible.
intention is. Like you're turning invisible, you're buffing yourself, right? But like, what's the greater thing you're trying to accomplish on your turn?
Are there any empty beasts around that are? Actually, I might try to sneak one on Oblivion. That's ridiculous and risky, but a sucker punch is a sucker punch nonetheless.
Ooh, okay. All right, you know what? Let's go for it. You're gonna deal damage as normal. Just make that roll to see if you crit or not.
Okay.
Roll your d20.
Oh, fuck. I'm so mad I got a 19. Plus a million, plus, so I got a 30. I got a 30. I'm so mad it wasn't a nat 20. So close.
So close, but a 19 isn't gonna quite cut it, Gentle. So what is max damage on the punches you're trying to throw?
Am I throwing with, can I throw flurry of blow? Or,
yeah, sure.
Flurry.
Why not? Go for it.
Okay. Flurry and hand of harm, that's 75 damage. 15 of that necrotic. I'm consistent, y'all.
Okay. So you're invisible. But you don't get advantage on attack rolls while you're invisible because you're not a rogue, I don't think. Okay, cool. So I think that's how that works. No, I think by nature of being invisible, you auto gain advantage on attack rolls. So roll that d20 again to see if you crit.
Come on, please, dice. So close. No.
That's okay. No worries. So as you invisibly just like attack Oblivion, who's also in the air, right? Your invisibility doesn't wear off, right? Like this empty body just sustains no matter what you do. That's awesome. Okay, so we see just sort of these like punches explode kind of against Oblivion's back, right? And where else are you trying to hit her?
I think for now, yeah, it is. If Oblivion is looking onward towards everyone else, I think with true like no respect available, to the back of the head, to the back.
Okay, and I'm gonna tell you what your defense roll is gonna be, actually, Gentle, since that's how you spent your turn. I'm gonna need you to make a con save.
I'll do it. I don't like that, but I'll do it. I don't love that for me. I have trust issues. That's a 16.
Okay, as your flurry of blows rains down on Oblivion, like the back of the head, the back of the neck, like just like between the scapula, everywhere, you're hitting all of like, I'm assuming the pain points that you know a humanoid body has, right? All the nerve endings that would cause them to seize up, like the back of the neck, like chop, right? Like you're doing all the things. And you know you're hitting all these spots with precision. But it's like hitting something that's harder than marble. It's like hitting a steel statue. It's like you're not hitting flesh and blood, you are hitting a hardened blade of shadow. So with that con save, you're gonna take 70 points of bludgeoning damage, I think. So it's halved because of empty body, so 35. As just like pain ricochets up your knuckles, and you can feel parts of your bones splinter and crack because you're like hitting something really, really, really hard. And you hear Oblivion go, they turn around to look, question mark, in your direction, even though you're invisible. But their eyes like fix right on where your face is, almost like they can see you despite your invisibility. And Oblivion just says, Gentle, hello, it's been a while since we spoke back down in the chasm, hasn't it? Oh, right, your whole thing is that you punch really well. But tell me, what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object?
Compromise.
An explosion! And as Oblivion says an explosion, there is literally an explosion of harmless light and sound echoing off their body, like confetti streaming, as well as these fireworks, almost like a mimicry of you and Vasanti's attempts to draw attention, just underneath the blood-strewn sky. So, we're gonna pan now over to Dewey.
Dewey is frozen. He was not expecting all of this to be here when he came back from URL with Lilith in tow. And she's in certainly no condition to be fending for herself. So I think he had like raised her wrist up like triumphantly, like, look, I got her, and then quickly puts it down. And sort of like drags her off the stage, like just below the stage, so she's not in plain view of everything. And I think Kane is in plainest view for Dewey. He's going to leave Lilith there in the relative safety of the overhang of the stage. And at the same time, he's shaking Forged, like, give me something good, give me something good, give me something I can use. And like nothing's happening, and he's got it, like he lifts it up over his head and is shaking it. And you see like a small pinprick of light, ovular in shape. It falls out and it falls into orbit around his head. And it sort of fades to like a opalescent lavender color, just a little sphere, rotating around his head. And he's like, he doesn't know exactly what it does, but he feels empowered by it anyways, and goes to Kane's side to protect them. And after he's like shaking this thing out of the real god jar, he's also got the false god jar that Lilith made. And on his way over, flying over to Kane, he's got that, and he's also shaking it. Like, what is? Because he can tell there's like some containment magic similar to the actual god jar, but he can't quite tell what's off about it. And he's just trying to suss that out on his way over to Kane.
Make an Arcana check.
22.
As I think you're also putting together the information you got from the blueprints on Lilith's desk when you took Faux Forge, you're like, you're a genius. So like you see them almost like in your mind's eye, like the architecture of the faux god jar, the Faux Forge, let's say, all the notes she wrote, and like holding Faux Forge now, there's like a skeletal structure of what a vase should be, and you're piecing it all together. And with your 24, right, you get the sense that this is in a lot of ways Lilith's salvation, right? Like you're picking out, remembering key phrases from notes she scribbled in the margins, and you get the sense that she is building this as a way to isolate her empathic ability and not be tormented by it anymore. But there's a final piece missing. Right, she couldn't quite, she was like trying to put it together. She's like, there's this final piece that I don't quite have, and it's like a circled blank space with question marks around it. But looking at Kane, looking up at Jiran, I think your eyes with that 24 are drawn to the corruption drooling out of Jiran's body. And how, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of or seen or witnessed a corrupted person. We've seen corrupted emissaries. We've never seen a corrupted mortal. So that interaction, right, of like a never before seen catalyst, right? And like for some reason your eyes are drawn to it. And I think like as you're next to Kane, they turn to you desperately. Like their hair is completely just all around their face. Their eyes are wide and desperate and pleading. And they're turning to you, Dewey, and they're saying, Dewey, thank the gods you're here. Is that it? Can that help people? And Kane's looking at Faux Forge. Is that going to be like the next god jar or something? Can that save Jiran? Can that help Oka? Please tell me you have something.
I don't know what this is. I don't know who it's for. I just know that I have to save someone with it. But I'm gonna get you out of here. I totally know what I'm doing.
Dewey, your words are not exactly inspiring confidence right now. I can't lose them both, Dewey. Please.
I don't know if I can save them both.
Kane looks down at Faux Forge, sees that it's like a kind of skeletal replica of the real Forge, and Kane is like, well, what does that do? Could that do anything? Can't you just suck the corruption out of Jiran or something?
I don't know how to use this. It's not mine. I don't.
Well, who knows how to use it? Whose is it?
And Dewey's, his eyes just fall on Lilith for a split second, but I think Kane picks up.
Yeah, and as Kane's eyes follow your gaze to Lilith, we see Lilith in the shadow of the stage, her limpid, pale hair just in her face, covering her expression, sort of hunched over a little bit, staring down at her scorched hands. And then she lifts her face up and looks at you, Dewey. And through like the stringy hair in front of her eyes, you see for a split second in those limpid pools of blue, conflict. Like her gaze falls on Faux Forge that you have, and we see like that conflict turn into want. Like there's a moment of like possessiveness, like that's mine. And then her eyes flick back up at you. And then we hear Oblivion, while still up in the air next to Gentle, call out almost whimsically, but it's very obvious who she's addressing. Lilith, what did I say about our actors and their blocking? And Lilith's eyes pull away from you, Dewey, and up onto the stage where the restrained and tropic beasts are. So I think this whole time, it's been Emperor Seongzhen who has been keeping them restrained. Several of these beasts, pretty much all of them, their true forms are literally gargantuan, right? Like the two-faced serpent. But given their restrained forms, they've like been knocked down just a huge on the stage, and they're sort of wrapped up in these magical chains almost, right? They're subdued, but they were kept mostly alive to attract Oblivion. Because I don't think anyone established that they were killed, so I'm gonna say they're mostly alive, but they are not at max HP, for sure. Lilith's gaze falls on these restrained beasts. Well, what am I if not a servant of entropy?
and she lifts a hand and pulls at the weave. And across the battlefield, we fly through it, like over Duran and Oka, clashed in this titanic confrontation, past where Gentle is, past Sitlali, past Dewey and Kane, to Emperor Seong Zhen, the dream-blessed, Lord of 10,000 years, Oka's father. And in front of the homestead, Omen, her Guqin, is out. And she's both sustaining the barrier over the stage that's keeping most of the I-beams, which I've been flashing and shooting this entire time, by the way, at bay, as well as restraining the beasts. And the Emperor actually lets out a shout. As there's like a dissonant chord that doesn't go with the rest of the melody she's been playing, as it almost feels like several of the strings snap. And two of the beasts balloon. They become massive. They grow gargantuan as Lilith wrests them out of the Emperor's control. And I think these two particular beasts, one of them is the two-faced serpent of Scott and Nectus, just getting huge. Like it breaks, it crashes through the awning over the stage, just raining debris everywhere, all around Voska, all around the two titanic confrontations, even some splashing up into the air in Gentle's direction, falling in these huge shards of lumber, steel, and rebar around Sitlali as well. This two-headed serpent just explodes out of the pavilion. And the other one is the puppet. This huge, glitching, shadowy, humanoid silhouette, right? That's supported at the wrists, ankle, and head by these black strings of constantly shifting entropic poetry. Voska's tormentor, right? And it also balloons huge, becomes gargantuan, and just explodes up, lumbering over the stage. So, Dewey, is there anything you do, anything else, before the end of your turn?
I think in response to maybe as the Emperor plays these discordant notes, and the bubble wanes a little bit, I think some of these beams break through, maybe, and Dewey this whole time has been shaking his god jars, fluttering his way over, being not subtle at all. And I think that because he's got the Mongshan stone orbiting around his head, that gives him absorption usually. But I would like to have that reflect beams, these beams coming from the eyes to the central eye.
Oh, okay. So in this version of the stranger, there's not necessarily a central eye like there was in Jukai, because that eye was sort of like the aspect, but there are just tons of eyes, so you can just reflect them back to as many as you want, or I'll focus them on one particular eye.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. So I guess that's gonna be me. As some of the beams explode through the Emperor's wavering shield, and start to try to collide onto the ground and strike several of you. But that bead, which is no larger than a fist even, whirling around your head, the Mongshan stone, it glows, and it seems like all of the beams, as they're traveling through midair, get drawn toward it, like light drawn toward the refractive presence of a prism, and they hit it and ricochet back upward. And the specific eyes that are struck, let's say 4 of them, are hit by their own beams, and we see cracks splinter across the eyes, and they close. And those areas in the sky no longer have any eyes. There's 4 bald patches, 4 blank spots in the sky with just void beyond. I assume that's the end of your turn? Wonderful. So Dewey, how are you trying to weather all of this?
Just through sheer force of trusting in his god weapon, and because he doesn't know what's going on, so he trusts through Forge to give him the right guidance.
Okay, I think that's gonna be a whiz save.
Okay, advantage on that. 28.
Whoa, okay, that's pretty good. So with a 28, Dewey, trusting in Forge,
there's maybe like a montage moment where you're trying to reflect all of the beams, but some of them get past this Mungshan stone and they strike you instead, as you're basically acting as like a lightning rod, essentially, like a conductor, to draw damage away from your friends, away from your allies. So you're gonna take a cool 35 points of force damage from the combined battering of the beams breaking through your defenses. Cool. So next up is gonna be Vasanti.
Oh boy. I think the last we saw her, she was still throwing, fireballs in the air and pyrotechnics, but those kind of like started to peter out. And she's looking at her hand, and like all of those scars from when she was getting torn apart in the Nothing Plane, instead of being green or purple, they're all turning black on her. And they're slowly spidering out in all directions. And even a few spots where it seems to be leaking out of the cracks, black mother's blood. And she's feeling indescribable internal pain deep in her gut. So much that she actually like lifts her shirt a little bit to see what's going on. And actually where her stomach, on her abdomen, is like the beginnings of a monster mouth, I think, starting to even form. Like she's feeling herself rapidly starting to monsterify, and she is going to do her best. I think in her mind, knowing how well fire has always worked against these empty beasts, I think she's going to cast Investiture of Flame and just set herself on fire, basically, and try and hope that this can, if whatever's in her system, maybe this can help slow it, burn it, whatever, fight it off.
I really like that. So that is going to be, let's say, I'm going to either ask for a Arcana check to see how well you can like wield this magic to do what you want it to do, or a religion check as you also try to draw on Scott and Nectus, or a con save.
I will take the con save.
Okay.
I'm going to use a luck point just to re-roll that. Come on.
Go for it.
Yes.
We also have advantage because of our clerics thing.
True, but either way, this is now a 27.
Ooh, that's good. That's pretty dang good. Okay, Vasanti, as flames explode around your body, this pain from your abdomen ripping open to reveal gnashing, drooling teeth of black corruption feels dulled by the fire. And you almost swear you see those teeth like let out a voiceless scream of pain as the flames lick up around it. Because you're right, some empty beasts do seem to be vulnerable to fire. And maybe the particular kind of empty beast trying to take over is one that is vulnerable to fire, right? So you're gonna be taking a mitigated damage from the corruption trying to course through your body. So that's only going to be 35 points of necrotic damage as the like mouth tries to rip open and take over. And I think you're able to staunch it for now as well with that high con save. Like you don't immediately monsterify like Jiran does, right? Like on his turn. And I think exploding into existence beside you in a pillar of swirling steel and black feather is Rev. And she immediately like falls into place next to you, seeing you like on fire, but she doesn't even seem to care. She reaches through the fire to like hold you, right? She doesn't like, even though it's like scorching up her arms and burning her flesh, she's just staring at you and going, Vasanti, are you okay? What? No. And her eyes follow the mouth on your stomach up to Jiran, who's like drooling and snarling against Oka. Vasanti, no. You're going to be okay, all right? I'm not going to let anything bad happen to you.
We've got to get Jiran back.
I don't know if we can. I don't know what Oka's or Dewey's. I'm focused on you right now, Vasanti. Even if he goes down, even if the fates don't work out, in him becoming Keeper of Scott and Nectus, I need you to be okay. We can't lose you.
I think Vasanti looks up into Rev's face and like a flaming hand goes to her cheek and they're just like, their faces are so close to each other, and Vasanti just says, as long as I have you, I will hold on.
It's okay. I'm right here, Vasanti. I'm right here. Just try to endure it, all right? You're a survivalist. That's what you are, Vasanti. You've always been a survivalist. You're not gonna let this shitty little pesky little mother's blood take you down, right? You've gotten out of deals worse than this.
If I could survive whatever Tyrion gave me, I'm sure this is fine.
And I think you like fall to your knees even on that as like the pain pulses through you again, but your fire's keeping it at bay, and Rev's presence is as well. So aside from just like literally fighting for your life, Vasanti, is there anything else you'd like to try to do on your turn?
I think the only thing is, I think she's gonna call Gamble, but like, she doesn't even like catch it in her hand. It just like flops everywhere. It's just like tarot cards all over the place, and she's just gonna like start rummaging through to pick one from the ground. But that'll be next time.
Cool, sounds good. And Rev is there with you, supporting you, right? Like through this horrible, torturous pain that's being staunched by her presence and by your fire. And she's just saying, I'm not going anywhere, Vasanti, all right? I am here with you until the end. I promise.
And I think, oh gosh, I think even on fire, I gotta have a kiss. Vasanti.
Yeah, totally. She leans, she closes the gap and she kisses you as well. Even though your fire is hurting her, I think, it's burning her, she does not care at all. She doesn't even flinch as the two of you like kiss. And I think before we do your end of turn defense roll, the two of you, Vasanti and Rev, hear a voice from above your heads. From above all of your heads, the voice next to Gentle let out a kind of like very like almost like Oblivion has been watching the two of you, and you hear clapping from like up on high above the two of you, and Oblivion is looking down at where the two of you are, ignoring Gentle at this point, and just going, beautiful. Now that is truly beautiful. Look at the two of you, so dedicated to each other, clinging on in the face of apocalypse, which is, of course, me. It reminds me of all the brave, kind, courageous souls of Tungal, but they didn't last nearly as long as any of you have. Oh, but I do wonder, Vasanti, I do wonder how you would think if you knew what your beloved was really thinking. I thought the whole point of love was to not keep secrets from each other, or is that just another false narrative of reality? Oh, you don't know? Rev's planning to sacrifice herself for you, Vasanti. Well, for all of you. A big, heroic moment, giving up the god shard of the Raven Queen to remove the logic of death from Endake so you'll never die here in this final confrontation. Isn't that right, Revenant? Rev is silent. Vasanti, how are you making your defense roll?
Oh god. I just feel like it's nothing but psychic damage at this point. Oh gosh. I think, oh god, why'd you have to throw that at me right now? I think the only thing that Vasanti can do right now is like, I'm so gobsmacked. You've literally taken all words from me at this point. I think Vasanti just wants to cry and like squeeze Rev and just like.
Yeah. Gonna call it a whiz save to like hold your morale.
Oof. Okay. That's like I have 0 in wisdom. Okay. You know what?
Ooh. You know, I'll give you advantage because your loved one is there. I will always give advantage for game moments. So you have advantage on this whiz save, and I think also from Sitlali's Beacon of Hope. Right? So I'll let it stack, so it's double advantage. So roll 3 dice and take the highest.
12.
All right, brace for this. As the truth, it's an undeniable truth, and Rev's silence only cements it further. She holds you, right? You get the sense that she's glowering past your shoulder up at Oblivion, but she doesn't say anything. And I think you feel not just your heart, but Scott and Nectis's hearts inside you break. And you're gonna take 70 points of
psychic damage from that.
We are in danger, fam. We're in danger. We are in danger. Okay.
Lovely. So I think that is the end of everyone's turns who's here on the battlefield, which means we're gonna go over now to Abiku. Abiku. The vault of Ba-Nur sprawls in ghostly radiance before you, as tangible and cogent as that fateful night you slew Tyrion, but ephemeral as well. Something about this place feels fleeting, liminal. The edges here are blurred, your sensations dulled, like being behind a pane of misty glass. And filling this lustrously carved interior of this massive vault, of this grave, are the spirits of your ancestors. Ghostly forms populate the interiority of this space. Some of these figures sit on piles of gold, sharpening spectral weapons. Others lean against marble pillars, conferring in low, urgent tones. You see titans of all disciplines, bearing all kinds of markings, the insignias of gigantic queendoms, the tattoos of draconic orders, the brands of even splinter factions. And yet, here, in the warm, cold embrace and memory of death, there is no fighting. As soon as your presence registers here, Abiku, these reverberating, echoing, ghostly voices grow still. Some of your ancestors, upon registering you here, they stand to greet you. Others stay sitting or lying down, observing you with intense but warm gazes. What do?
I think I look to make sure I'm not like a ghost.
Totally. Yeah, you look down at your hands, and unlike everything and everyone else here, they're solid, flesh and bone.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I will be honest, I am not quite sure what is going on here, but have you all just been here? Did you see me? I ended the war. Tyrion is dead.
The sea of ghosts? Their expressions are inscrutable. You might as well have spoken like gibberish to them. But as the final word falls out of your mouth and echoes through this vast chamber, this ocean parts to reveal a woman whose face you now know very well ever since the Raven Queen restored your memories to you. Queen Undu of the Cloud Kingdom is a tall, austere, dragon-born woman with the coiling horns of a minotaur protruding from her scaled forehead. And even through her ghostly form, you can tell her skin is dark, her scales are the color of gold rimming her face, and she regards you with a sharp, regal stare, but there's something soft in her gaze as well. And Abiku, for the first time in 10,000 years, Queen Undu addresses you.
Abiku bows. I need to make that very clear.
Yeah,
as soon as she sees her, I don't know if it's like out of reverence or muscle memory, but she I think it's like, I'm not supposed to look at you.
I love that. You're like, oh god, the queen is here.
Yeah.
So you immediately bow at the waist. I love that. And you hear her tones like molten silk, right? Just dripping in just this effortless austerity. Like Tyrion almost had to affect at the very end importance, but Queen Undu just effortlessly has it. She's important and she doesn't need to prove it, right? So you hear this voice just sort of say, Lieutenant Ishtar, Keeper of the Raven Queen, rise.
Yes, Your Majesty.
And you slowly draw to your full, 8 feet? Queen Undu is 12 feet tall, right? So giant woman.
Yeah. Abiku's so glad no one else is here to realize that she's pretty short.
You're below average height for a titan,
absolutely just thrilled. Thank God Tyrion was also short.
Two short queens/kings. I love that.
Queen Undu looks at you, right, with those translucent, piercing, ghostly gaze. And she says, "You and your allies have reconnected the now with the after. Your presence here, in the realm ethereal, within the plane of dreams, is and forever will be welcome. You were our hope. You saved us. And despite what Tyrann did, a blood debt has been repaid. The tyrant is no more." And at that, like, every ancestor in this space, like, it doesn't matter what school of magic they practice, like, draconic, gigantic, undeclared, it doesn't matter. They all sort of, like, let out this, like, cry from, like, different orders, from different kingdoms. They let out these, like, cheers almost, right? And you feel this ghostly chamber just reverberating with dozens and hundreds and thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of voices just emanating up, up, up. When these voices, like, lift up, like, through the air, it also seems to sing through your soul, like a helium ascent of hope and a retribution that has finally been dealt for a justice 10,000 years old. And Queen Undu looks at you with nothing short of pride in her face and says, "I believe there are reunions to be had." And stepping out from behind her are two men. One of them is an elf warrior with pitch black skin, shot through with moving tattoos of roiling clouds. And their long, kind of angular, severe-looking face is accentuated by a piercing orange gaze, exactly the orange of your eyes. And the other man on Queen Undu's other side is a bronze-skinned hobgoblin artist, with a broad, smiling face, and this kind of heavy-set build. And he has these, like, long black dreads that are tied up and back into a ponytail. And you recognize them immediately, how could you not? They're your fathers, Jam and Urakel. What do you do?
As soon as Abiku sees him, I run over, and about halfway she's like, "There goes." And I think she tries to call her ravens, Silvereye and Blackbeak, to, like, help with Raven Queen magic so she can touch the ghost. She's like, "I don't know." So, like, halfway there, she, like, "The birds will know."
I love that. I think as you run forward toward your fathers, who also run forward toward you, like, shooting out from you in a flutter of feathers and beak is Blackbeak and Silvereye, and they swoop towards your fathers, and unflinchingly they pass through them, right? Like, they're like, these ravens also seem corporeal, but they phase through your fathers like they're holograms. But something in the passing through seems to solidify your fathers, and for half a second they seem to be made of flesh and bone, just like you, and you can hold each other. Boom, you collide into each other, warmth, like arms wrapping around each other, holding on to each other, and Jam, your angular father, is crying, and he's saying, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Abiku. I'm so sorry I left you. I'm so sorry I died. And Urakel, your broad, soft, loving, artistic father, is saying, "It's okay, honey, darling, it's fine. Oh, Abiku, our love, light of her life, how we have missed you."
I'm sorry I have been gone from home for so long.
Your dad's just like, "Shh, no, don't apologize." "What? How dare you? You shouldn't apologize." Jam, let her apologize if she wants. This is our way of processing. You always know what to say. Here. And Jam, your kind of wiry, angular dad, like, hugs both of you really, really tight and pulls you in close. And your two ravens also, like, swoop in, like, a low circle overhead, cawing in affection. And there's just a moment as, like, the three of you are just embraced and intertwining and holding on to each other. And you smell your dad's. You smell, like, the ground up dust of the glass black leaves from the glass forest where you grew up. You smell the running creek lapping up against the soil. You smell your childhood in that moment as you embrace your fathers.
I have a wife. I don't know what you know. I have a wife. Her name is Shunyi. She's very nice. She also died and came back 10,000. Well, not, you know. But I'm sure she would love to meet you under the right circumstances. There is someone else. She is stubborn like me, so it is going okay. I would say just okay.
Stubborn, says Jam, and Urakel like throws his head back, right? Like one dread, going over his shoulder, and just laughs. This like kind of like high-pitched, giggling, almost like a butterfly's wings flapping, kind of like sweet summer breeze laugh. And Jam eventually, like his kind of severe face also breaks, and he smiles at you and pulls you in again and says, yes, I vaguely remember in the after hearing some kind of news about you, my daughter, keeper of the Raven Queen, would-be savior, ender of the 1,000-Year War, but there's something else, Abiku. Before we fully carry out our reunion, there's someone else here.
Oh?
And Queen Undu nods, like very like serenely and austerely, right? As like your fathers like temporarily pull away. They don't let go of you, but they do like pull away. They fold outward like birds' wings on either side of you. And Queen Undu says, Lieutenant Ishtar, there are 2 other matters to attend to before we get a little too carried away. Can you sense the first?
You are hungry?
A couple of your ancestors laugh at that, and a couple of others like jab them in the ribs to get them to stop laughing. And Queen Undu's like face does not change, and she just raises an eyebrow. And at that eyebrow raise, you feel them, or rather, you hear them. The forgotten echoes of the gods of Tungal resonate still within this death dream of your ancestors inside this vault. Their whispered voices are like a wordless song, musical and lilting, harmonizing deep within the recesses of your consciousness. And Queen Undu, like upon seeing you, like hearing this, goes on and says, Lieutenant Ishtar, you are a traveler between life and death, a relic of a bygone age who carries the past inside your bones. Your presence here in the realm of dreams has reawakened the forgotten memories that linger in the walls of this vault, inside the marrow of the Iron Citadel. This place, Lieutenant Ishtar, was once an architectural gift from our siblings in Tungal. The armillary, the room with the moving bands, used to connect our realms, used to be one of many portals to Tungal. Your presence here, Abiku, as a living relic of a forgotten past, is a harmonic focuser. Here, the lost god shards of Tungal live on.
Okay. How can I bring them with me? One sec. Silver Eye, Blackbeak, come here. I need your help.
Yeah, what is it, boss? Anything for you, boss. Hey, these digs look pretty good. We could probably dig up a nice roost over here, nest here for the next, 10,000 years? We can hide from the stranger here, don't you think?
No. That, we will get to that in a second. Okay. Do you like fairy, you can like fairy souls and such, yes?
Yeah, now that we're your little familiars as your warlock of the Raven Queen, we got all kinds of spiffy powers.
Do you think you could fairy gods?
Fairy a god?
And I think they're perched on either shoulder, and they're like talking to you like the little angel and devil on the shoulder. And you're like turning your head right as they talk. They look at each other, and you can hear them like excitement beginning to build within their feathers, and they're like ruffling it, and their beaks are kind of chattering from like this barely bridled enthusiasm. And Silver Eye goes,
boss lady, you sure that such an honor can be bestowed upon us?
I mean, I trusted you to take a letter. Why wouldn't I trust you to take? I talk to a lot of birds, right? But like, I don't ask every bird to help me.
That's true, that's true. Our Lady Ishtar here is very discriminating when it comes to the avian kind. We'll do it. You can count on us, lady. We'll ferry these gods, dead or alive.
Okay, well, don't die, because then you will not do it, and I also am very fond of you, and I don't know what happens if you die.
Aw, shucks! You're making us blush.
And they look physically exactly the same. There's like no change.
I think Abiku will give them scratches under their chin. You said there were 2 things, Your Majesty?
Yes, Lieutenant Ishtar. There is another matter. Another living consciousness here. A person. Someone we have been protecting. And Abiku, this sea of ghosts parts once again to reveal, walking down like an aisle, almost kind of unsteadily, unsure of themselves, wearing a sleeveless black turtleneck, their perfect brown hair disheveled, Dr. Illuso. Abiku.
She definitely takes like a step back and looks at Queen Undu. Are you sure? Because so far, every time I have seen them since, it has not been them.
Queen Undu lowers her chin to her clavicle and then raises her eyes without lifting her head and looks at you like directly, right? Like she's swearing this on her as queen. I am certain this soul is not the vacuous, empty, gravitational void that is chasing it. It needed our help, and so we did.
Okay. I think we will walk over, Dr. Luso.
Biku.
And Dr. Luso is maybe like halfway across the vault. They've stopped, and they're flanked on either side by like a sea of your ancestors. And they're looking side to side, and they're like wringing their fingers together in a study of anxiety in a way you haven't seen since the chasm. And they have they do not have their glasses on. That's the only difference between the Dr. Luso and the Dr. Luso here. And they're looking at you, and their eyes are this kind of like soft brown black, right? And their hair is the same black as it was after they came out of the time loop in Jukai.
Abiku, I understand your hesitation, and I know what Oblivion must have been doing out there in my body and my mind, pretending to be me. I'm sorry, but I swear, this is me, as much as I think it can be me.
Can I roll a thing to, like, as much as Oblivion is Dr. Luso, I guess it's that thing in me where it's like there's this one thing that they do that, like, the copy, like, didn't pick up on, Can I, like, try and...
Yeah, why don't you roll insight?
Absolutely.
Let's say with advantage, because all of your ancestors are here, and you just hugged your dads, so.
Thanks, dads. Natural 20 for 30.
Thank you, dads. Oh my god, a 30? My Jesus Lord. Okay, so I think you see this Dr. Luso ? Do this thing that Dr. Luso always did with her glasses, which is they'd like touch the side of their glasses and push it up to their face. But this Titsagaton in front of you pushes their fingers up and like almost like to push their glasses back up before remembering that their glasses aren't there. Like they're off and they just
yeah.
Oh, right, they flinch, right, and they lower their hands. And there's something about that motion that in you're like, Oblivion wouldn't make a mistake like that.
Right.
Like Oblivion wouldn't forget that they used to wear glasses.
I would walk over. I would close it unless they don't let me.
No, they do stiffen a little as you approach, like they're almost even unsure of themselves.
And I would put one hand out.
Biku.
And she slowly reaches out like a trembling hand, right? Her fingers quivering at the tips, and just gently, slowly, uncertainly lowers it into your palm.
I'll put my other hand on top of it, and I look her in the eye. Let's get you home.
Abiku, How do you know this is me?
I know a friend when I see one.
Abiku, I don't even really know who or what I am anymore. If I was ever even real, I think I must have been. I feel pain right now. I feel grief. I feel shame. I feel anger. I feel sadness. And not all of it for myself. So, does that make me real?
It helps, but all of those things and thoughts and feelings, I don't know. I mean, anyone can have them. I think what makes you real is the joy you gave people in your homestead and the love people have for you and you have for them and the hope you represent to us all. I mean, I would be wandering around still, somewhere, who knows, in Andake without you.
I was created to explore this place, to keep tabs on it, to serve as a vessel. Watch tower, a lighthouse, for a fire that would one day burn it to the ground. But if you believe in me, Abiku, if Oka believes in me, if Dewey, Jiran, Gentle, Voska, Visanti, Sitlali, if all of them believe in me, then maybe there is something in me still worth saving.
All of you is worth saving.
And you see Dr. Luso's bottom lip quiver, and they hug you, right? Their hand flies out of your hand, and they grab onto you, right? Like you're the last thing they'll ever hold, kind of, and they hold onto you and they squeeze. Mm-hmm. And when they pull away, their eyes are shining, but tears have not fallen quite yet. And they're saying quite urgently, Abiku, there's something else, several other else's, that I need to tell you about before we go back.
Okay.
So, and she lets go kind of suddenly, and she's Dr. Luso again. She's kind of pacing in a tight circle, and she's spewing a theory, right? That she's working out as she's speaking.
Bika sits down to try and remember as much of it as she can.
As you sit, every other Titan in the room sits as well, almost like a wave of people. Mm-hmm. They just sit. And Dr. Luso seems used to this. And you don't know how long they've been in this vault, you know what I mean? But they seem used to it. And they're kind of pacing a tight circle and going, so, Abiku, precepts precede reality as we know it, right? They made existence as we know it under the logic of a guiding principle or a structure, framework, whatever you want to call it, known as the journey. And you know when they say the journey, it has a capital J.
Yeah.
And the purpose of the journey isn't to get anywhere necessarily, right? It's a journey. It's to just travel, to experience it, right? Mm-hmm. To enjoy the ride, to make things and question and love, as you mentioned. And that is beautiful, I think. And that is worthwhile, but only 2 of the 3 precepts that we're aware of anyway, had any say in the creation of this reality. Fate and magic. Oblivion. It was left out. They didn't include it. They didn't want it. Because in their eyes, the journey isn't supposed to end. It's just supposed to go on forever, right? And what is Oblivion? It is an end. And any kind of end is scary under this logic of the journey then, right? It comes out as empty beasts and apocalyptic rapture and mountains vanishing and oceans disappearing and people screaming and grieving and crying, and it's never anything but terrifying, but evil. And at that, she stops pacing and approaches you. And Abiku, Oblivion, thinks she can't control how she manifests in the journey. Fire burns oxygen by nature of being fire,
right? Oblivion annihilates matter, annihilates hope, annihilates light, just annihilates by nature of being Oblivion in the journey. That's what she does. It's what she has to do because of the rules the other precepts created. Abiku, fate and magic wove a story where the only role Oblivion could ever fill is that of a villain. There's no possibility, there's no something or anything or everything where she's not the villain. I mean, she's Oblivion, right? She's nothing. Is there really a good way to be a nothing? A way that isn't scary to us, a way that doesn't annihilate. It's not just theoretical, Abiku. She's... While she was trying to kill me, inside our shared consciousness, she showed me things. She showed me how she's tried reaching out to other planes for help. Other realities, other dimensions. But every place she goes, every realm she visits, every person she contacts, she ends up destroying. Even when she doesn't want to, I think. Even when it's not her intention. And now, over the course of a literal eternity, she's grown bitter. She's grown resentful. She's grown resigned. So this second Stranger War, Abiku, this fight, this end of reality as we know it, it's her swan song. Oblivion wants to go out on her own terms, to create an end that's hers. Not fate's, not magic's. Hers. She's burning down the journey because it was never meant for her. It was never written for her. She was never supposed to be a part of this world, a part of this narrative. Because fate and magic left her out. And that kind of dark look comes over Dr. Aluso's face. A complicated, furrowed look, and you get the sense that all the emotions that were on her expression from earlier, the grief, the rage, the pain, they were for herself, they were for all of you, they were for Indake, but they were also for maybe the stranger. And Dr. Aluso goes on to say, they abandoned her. Just like they abandoned us and Dake, just like fate and magic abandoned me. The only thing Oblivion has ever made, Abiku, is me.
So, wait, okay. Two things. One, Oblivion is like the kid sibling no one invites to play.
I don't know if any one of them is older or younger than the other, but...
Please work with me here. You know I'm trying my best.
Yes, I understand. I suppose, yes.
Okay. But also, Oblivion can make things in points.
Well, I'm the only thing she's ever made.
But she can.
And Dr. Lusa looks down at their body, their hands, their shirt, Oka's shirt, and looks back up at you. I suppose yes?
Well, what if... we talk to them and see if we can convince them to stop, you know, the whole, like, ending all of reality and...
Right.
Maybe we can convince fate and magic that Oblivion could... I don't know, but they can make things. Maybe there's something they can make to help give the journey more meaning, or like the end of a journey, or something. This is the best. I'm sorry, Sir Dewey. Someone smarter is not here. That's the best I got.
No, Abiku, that was lovely. That was... I think that was what I needed to hear. I was scared to tell you this, Abiku. I was afraid you would say that it doesn't matter, that she's done too much evil, too much wrong, that she is beyond saving, that I'm maybe even beyond saving, but maybe you're right. I love Abiku, and I feel, and I want, I am. She wants to kill me. She wants to kill all of us, right? But I didn't let her. I wouldn't let her kill any of you. She almost did. But your ancestors, well, our ancestors ostensibly, and the god shards of Tungal here, they saved me. Your queen, everyone saved me. Here in the vault, I am safe from her. But, and like, she looks urgently at you. But Abiku, she's, regardless of whether or not we try to stop her with words or something else, if I'm here and she's out there, then she's also safe from me. I can't stop her like I could in the chasm from just killing all of you with a snap of her fingers. And on that, we're gonna cut back to the battlefield, where we see Oblivion once more, hovering above it all, the faintest of smiles on their cold, wretchedly beautiful face. They raise Dr. Aluso's hand, press a middle finger against a thumb, and snap. And on that, we'll cut the break. So thank you everyone so much for tuning in so far. The break's gonna be about 10 minutes. Bisho.
Hi folks, it is I, your beloved Valiant Love Wins Dorian here, and I play Voska, Paragon Nebuza, and Sexy Snady on Transplanar. Today, I'm excited to share my upcoming TTRPG game, The Beast Within, courtesy of Bears Games, a friend of the stream. My first ever TTRPG, The Beast Within, will be launching on Crowdfunder for their campaign Tabletop Nonstop, where they support and highlight creators crowdfunding for their TTRPG projects. Now you might be wondering, what is The Beast Within? Well, The Beast Within is a multiplayer, narrative-focused tabletop role-playing game where players may play as humanoids with the ability to transform into werebeasts. The Beast Within will be utilizing a D12 dice system for nail-biting and explosive combat. So, what will you choose? Your humanity, or to unleash the wrath of the Beast Within? Choose from a diverse collection of humanoid and beast archetypes, each with its own unique abilities and skills. The Beast Within hosts 10 incredible beast archetype options. You can play as a werewolf with the Canis archetype, a werebear with the Ursa archetype, or even rare werebeasts like weremoles. The power is in your hands. Use !ad in chat for more information on The Beast Within, and to check out and subscribe to the crowdfunder page to be notified of all updates and when the campaign will be launched. And if you do subscribe, you unlock the potential for special subscriber stretch goals while you do so. And now, back to the battle at the end of the world, my beloveds. Connie, please be nice to us. Please. Take care, everyone.
Welcome back from break, everybody. Welcome back to Arc 8, Episode 4 of The Second Stranger. Let's hop right back into things with a reminder of content warnings for this episode. They may include fantasy violence, apocalypse, trauma and grief, depictions of war, body horror, gore, blood and bloodletting, death of loved ones, familial struggles, complex and complicated relationships, romance and references to sexual entanglements, monsters and monstrosities, and eldritch abominations. So for a reminder of these content warnings at any time, use !CW in chat and !safety for a look at the cast's lines and veils to know what topics we'll never broach, no matter how dark things get. So, with that out of the way, let's hop right back into the session. After Oblivion snaps, in the bleeding, shattered sky above the concert for the end of the world, that massive, glowing 8 turns into a 7. And one by one, the painted eyes in the sundered crimson sky above the stage begin to cry. They ooze thick, luminous globules of black blood, splashing onto the ground in wide, flat circles of ruinous void. And one by one, empty beasts begin to coagulate in pillars of malformed shadow. Ropes of tendon ribbon around newborn joints cracking into place. Hair sprouts from pulsating pores. Teeth push out of thick, gummy wads of fatty flesh. Spikes protrude in oblong mounds. And the rain does not stop. Dozens of monsters lace and bleed and splash into existence. 20, 50, 80, 100. The rain does not stop. 150, 200, 400, 800, 1,000. 1,500, growing more, a beast for every single drop of blood black rain. Mother's blood splatters onto the crumbled awning that still remains above the stage, the vestiges of roof. And cohering out of this drooling black slag is a proliferation of wretched, pale, hairless, bipedal creatures with mouths full of gnashing teeth and flat, soulless, shark-like eyes, with sharp, raptor-like talons that slash through the canvas of the awning as they scrabble for purchase, leaping immediately into the fray. We also see howlers forming out of the rain, those snarling dog-like creatures with tough, fleshy skin, their pitch black eyes like cavernous hollows glowing with red points within, toxic pulsating sacs bulging under their chins, their backs bristling with sharp, porcupine-like quills. And then there are the tooth spitters, those shuddering, shivering, humanoid creatures of fleshy pink gum, their bodies brimming with large, clunky, javelin-like protrusions of pure white bone, teeth. Actually, some chipped and broken as they smash onto the ground to expose oozing marrow underneath. And careening across the battlefield, we even see a corpse bolus. That mashed conglomeration of limbs, hair, skin, teeth. A rolling sphere of flesh and bone crushing boulders under its bulk, picking up shattered remnants of other empty beasts to add to its pulsating mass. We see floating flesh warpers, wrapped in rusted chains, dripping, drooling with venom and poison, their mutated bodies interlaced with gaping mouths, blinking eyes, fingernails, and hair. But these aren't all. Forming from a tower of mother's blood that splashes onto the ground, we see a massive, six-legged abomination. The faces of people taken by the empty, pressing through its fleshy hide like heads pressed into sand. Their expressions contorted in various stages of agony, grief, rage, fear. Sharp, toxic spines bristle down a long whip-like tail, and a bald, screaming face rests atop a long, thick neck. Multiple face stealers spawn, emitting horrific wails from their many-fold mouths, and also solidifying into being are claw marks, footsteps, handprints from invisible entities gouging across the arena, exploding into existence in brief flashes of shattered reality. We glimpse fleshy, muscular bodies, skittering claws, large, stomping feet, torsos comprised of multiple necks, each topped by a monstrous head, hydra flares. And perhaps the worst sound of all, above the screaming, gnashing of teeth, the horrific wails from face stealers, the gibbering growls and howling from wretched and howlers, is another discordant shout from Emperor Zhen of Xiong. And the rest of the entropic beasts, the remaining 6 that they'd been holding back on the stage behind Voska, break free. And all at once, all 6 of these newly freed monsters explode into their full gargantuan forms, each easily the size of a building. Their forms shatter completely now, the awning above the stage dwarfing every other combatant on this battlefield, each different, each custom-bred to torment the paragons and their deities, lumbering, snarling monsters built to kill the gods. We know the two-faced serpent, we know the puppet, but now we see the nightmare of Sen, a formless shadow, black mist, black cloud, black fog, interlaced with the sounds of tormented voices from your past. The paradise of Mungshan Judi, a formless beam of void light, white mist, white cloud, white fog, its ethereal, dreamy depths whispering sweet ideations of fantasy from your wildest dreams. The oil of Mahu, a shimmering gas spill of an entropic beast molded into the rough shape of a deep-sea leviathan. It has a carapace of coral and thick, thrashing tendrils topped with venomous barbs of bone. The darkness of Galtanger, a tenebrous sheet of shadow that arches across the battlefield in a twisted void rainbow, plunging entire sections of the Badlands into premature magical nighttime. And the gravedigger of the Raven Queen, a hulking,
umbral specter with a cloak of shadow drawn over its hunched form, obscuring its features. It wields a massive spade with bladed edges and emits a horrific stench of rot and decay. And finally, the Stormcatcher of Utabathi. A massive, plodding creature with 4 stout limbs ending in blunt, crushing claws. A thick, crystalline shell rests on its back, made from some sort of void, refractive glass, like shadows caught in a kaleidoscope. And protruding from this huge shell are sharp pylons, thrumming with vacuous energy, attracting magic like lightning rods from the weave to divert damage from empty forces, not dissimilar to what Dewey is doing with the Munction Stone. And Oblivion, floating amidst this literal monstrous rain, which doesn't stop pouring down, by the way, her arms outstretched like a conductor leading an orchestra through her magnum opus, lets out a smile. And so, the curtain falls on the overture of our grand game. Let's shake things up for Act 1. Everyone, let's please re-roll initiative. Okay, Duran, what'd you get?
I knew it wasn't gonna last. I got a 7.
Okay, 7 from Duran. Dewey?
23.
23, okay. Vasanti?
18.
18. Oka?
16.
16 from Oka. Voska?
19.
19. Sitlali?
24.
Ooh, 24. Gentle?
18.
18. Okay. First to act is gonna be Sitlali. Things have considerably worsened since the last time we panned to you. What do you do?
Sitlali is doing math, but while moving this time, which is a slight upgrade from what they usually do. So I don't think that their eyes have left Lilith since, like, clocking Lilith the first time, and they are still making as much of a beeline as possible towards her. And if I can get, do I get there on this turn? Can I get there on this turn?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
You get there. Yeah.
Okay, so I think once Sitlali gets to Lilith, she grabs Lilith by, like, the forearm and casts Death Ward.
Okay, you're trying to protect her in this fight?
Yes.
Okay. What does it look like as it ribbons across her?
I think it's like a pale mint green that just kind of, like, goes well with the eyes. And just kind of, like, literal ribbons, just, like, gently across and down. And I think they look Lilith in the eye. And there is legitimate concern there. And she says, "You don't have to be a servant of Oblivion anymore if you don't want to. You know that, right?"
As you had approached her, making haste, she had actually flinched when you reached out, almost like she was expecting you to attack her or, like, grab her and, like, cast harm, you know? But when you grab onto her wrist and she almost flinches her head away, and Death Ward happens instead, there's a pause as her gaze is not on you, and then it slowly travels back to you, almost in a kind of muted wonder, like she was not expecting you to do that at all. And you see those, like, pale eyes widen, right? The blue sort of reflecting the glowing mint green that is lacing around her body. I am a servant by choice, Sitlali. This is my grave I've dug for myself. You'd understand that, wouldn't you?
You can make a change.
Change. Change. Look around you, Sitlali. This is what I've brought onto this world, and it is for a purpose I cannot turn my eyes away from now. If I do, then all of this will have been for nothing. All the little evils I've committed, all the people I've killed, all the souls I've desecrated to the empty, will have been for nothing if I turn back now.
Would it not be for nothing if you died and we still won?
How optimistic, Sitlali. If that does happen, at least I stuck to my dream until the bitter end.
I think you can change. I think you have it in you. You have so much boundless potential, Lilith. You can decide at any time to use it for good instead of this. Better late than never.
And as Lilith looks at you, you feel her like probing into like your consciousness to see if you have any ulterior motives, right? Like where this is coming from. Mm-hmm. Do you let her?
I will allow it.
Okay, Sitlali, what does she see? What is the truth behind everything you're offering her in this moment?
Sitlali means every word. Sitlali genuinely thinks that Lilith can change, and that after this, they can help her try to get a handle on the Hella empath powers curse thing that she deals with. Sitlali genuinely wants Lilith to live through this and to, like, come out the other side.
Oh, no. Sitlali, what is this? What? Reaching a hand out at the end of the world? To what? Make a friend?
It's called compassion, Lilith. And I get the feeling you haven't experienced it very much.
Compassion. I ask you this in earnest, Sitlali. Could you extend that same compassion to the only other being that understands me? The only other entity I can call something even close to the mockery that is friend.
I haven't hit her once, have I?
Okay, and I think that roll I'm gonna ask for you is gonna be a persuasion check, my good friend.
Good.
My good friend.
Good. Would you like me to send you a picture?
Was it a nat 20?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. No,
31.
The dice have decreed it. The dice have fucking decreed it. Lilith looks at you, and the next words out of her mouth are, "My forge." And her eyes slide past you to the faux forge in Dewey's feathered hand.
It is my last shred of hope. If there is to be any future for me beyond Oblivion, beyond even my garden, Sitlali, I need it. There's a final piece that's missing from it, and I think it might be lodged in them.
And her eyes flick up at Jiran. I think that's gonna be the end of your turn, Sitlali, so how are you trying to weather the blows of all the monsters everywhere?
I think Sitlali's gotten pretty good with a shield. So I think Sitlali is mostly relying on their shield and kind of like allowing their like attunement with the weave to guide their shield so that like she can almost intuit where things might be coming from and try to like deflect and intercept while also protecting Lilith.
You know what? I'll say that's a whiz save.
Oh, thank you.
I know, and you have advantage on it because of Beacon of Hope, I assume. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's 19 plus 11, 28.
28? Okay,
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I think on your way to Lilith, and even as you're standing there with the shield over, you're drawing most of the attacks, right? You're like flinging yourself over her to protect her. So you're gonna take a little bit of like stray monster damage. I think as like there's even a moment where like Wretched try to leap up, but you're able to like easily like cut them down. Like we don't even have to like describe it necessarily. These little monsters try to claw at you, but you just cut them down with one hand and the other with the shield. But you're gonna take some ambient damage from just everything all around you. Let's say 10 points of slashing damage and 25 points of acid damage from like the claws imbued with this necrotic force. So we're gonna travel now over across the battlefield to Dewey.
Dewey doesn't notice those eyes slide over to the foe forge. He has, I think, taken Kane up on his back, maybe, tried to fly him to higher ground so this flood of empty beast rain doesn't, splash onto Kane's feet. And once he gets to that safer point, his previous attempts to connect to Dusty in a different plane, I think, just haven't yielded anything. So he's going to use information overload on himself to overload his thoughts and channel information directly from Dusty to himself.
To try to see what Dusty's seeing?
Yes, or get a handle, because this battle just took a turn for the worse. Dewey can't imagine it's going well for Dusty either.
Okay, so if you're trying to peer through Dusty's eyes, I'm gonna need you to make like an Arcana check, I think. I think that's what that is. Make an Arcana check.
Okay. That's a nat 20.
Let's go!
Power of love.
The power of fucking love. What did I fucking say? Let's go!
My God. We get rights today!
Oh my God. Okay, what is the total? What is the total on that?
31.
For posterity. Jesus. Okay, so Dewey, what does it look like as you open your mind to everything?
He looks like he's just got like a massive splitting headache. He's holding the sides of his head. He's taken off his glasses and he's just trying to it looks like he's trying to hold his head together as he sees, I suppose, way more than he's ever seen at one time.
Dewey, as you open your mind to the everything, focusing on that one intimate, strong, emotional connection you have with your sword son, Dusty, you open your eyes and you see through theirs. With your natural 20, you stay here for a while, for more than just like half a second that you did back in Lilith's office. Like you see this for like a prolonged amount of time. You're still in that white room that you saw earlier, but whatever form Dusty's been filling out on the desk table in front of them is gone. And they're sitting on some sort of cold and flat surface, looking around. There's no windows, there's not even a door. But Dusty doesn't seem concerned by that. They're just looking around and you can almost like inhabit their consciousness and like get a sense of what they're looking for a watch, for a clock, for some way to tell time. It's almost like a casino in here. There's like nothing here that will indicate any sort of passage of time or movement of space even. And you feel something sort of like jolting the right side of your body and you realize that Dusty is wiggling their leg. And they seem to be a little nervous and impatiently waiting. And for longer than you're comfortable with, because it's taking you all the concentration you have in the world to stay rooted to them, they just sit there and wait and nothing else happens. But toward the end where you feel your grip of concentration slipping, a pane, like a seam, opens up in the white wall in front of Dusty. It just sort of like, you see a vertical beam of light shoot up, stop at a point, move to the right, and then stop down to form like the aperture of like a door, the frame of a door, and then it pushes open. And stepping forward is that same woman you saw earlier with the shaved head, with like the various concentric tattoos of like some sort of arcane sigils on her scalp. And she's wearing this like kind of like understated black leather armor with this utility belt. Her arms are crossed in front of her chest. She steps forward, these big combat boots sort of thudding on the ground. She's looking down at you / Dusty. And you see that there's a scar running across one side of her face, turning like one eye like a milky white. And she's looking down
down at you, Dusty/Dewey, and says, all right, one of them's here, but they're not gonna go without the other one. And you hear Dusty say, oh, we don't have time. Our world is going to die. Not just our world, everyone's world. Why isn't there a sense of urgency about this? Anyway, okay, fine. When's the other person getting here, or Precept, or whatever? They work in, strange and mysterious ways, kid. Not the first time someone's tried to find our place. Going on and on and on about the end of the world. You know how many apocalypses happen in the blink of an eye? Hell, 4 apocalypses happen by the time I finish breakfast here. All right, kid, just hold on to your horses.
You don't understand. There's not gonna be any more horses to hold on to if we... How much longer do we have to wait? Please, everyone's counting on me and I can't let them down.
All right, kid, listen. All I got from them is something about just a couple more nat 20s. No idea what that means. They say strange things, okay? Just hold on. What? And boosh! Dewey, you're pulled back into your body. I also need you to make your defense roll now, I think, based on that info, to weather the open, raw nerve you've made yourself to the influences of every universe that's out there. So make me either a con or intelligence save.
21.
21. Okay, that's pretty good. So as you stagger back into your body, that headache mounts and mounts and mounts and sort of pulses around your temples, and you're gonna take 35 points of psychic damage, just from like the ambient noise of everything swirling inside your consciousness. Is there anything else you'd like to do as Kane is on your back, right? Before you fully end your turn?
I think I put Kane down as I was concentrating. I don't think I could concentrate with them on my back.
I love that. I'm into it. Yeah, Kane is like next to you, looking at you intently and says, well, did you get anything useful?
What is a nat 20 and how do we get them?
What? And we're gonna cut across the battlefield, actually, before we go to our next PC, to the Emperor. Emperor Xiong Zhen shakes their head once sharply, the tassels of their crown, I think, wobbling to a serene stop in front of their face. They've regathered themselves after losing control violently of the entropic beasts, and they begin to play a song. Even as beasts rain down all around you, splashing in these huge flat plates of void, and rise up, hundreds, maybe even over a couple thousand of them at this point. Xiong Zhen flings their hands and their fingers, their delicate yet strong, slender fingers, over the strings, and with one hand they defend themselves and the homestead from attack from all these monsters. Waves of psionic magic just flashing out from Omen and just ripping empty beasts to shreds. And with their other hand, every single note they play, we see from a bird's eye view, portals begin to open on the battlefield. It's like golden circles rippling open, and on the other side of these portals, we see Camp Vanguard. And flooding into the battlefield, we see Kyrian cavalry, we see Talmadi archers, we see Nabalish infantry, heavy infantry from the court even, sailors from Uhanaki. They all pour into the battlefield. There's dozens, hundreds, thousands of soldiers begin to pour into this arena, like brandishing weapons, shouting, and they begin to cut down, I think, the foot soldiers of the empty all around you. So this controlled battle has now exploded into full-blown war. And across this arena, we also see Toktoa Kagan astride her steed, leading the reinforcements from Camp Vanguard, the Kyrian cavalry and archers, shooting foes down with that glowing golden bow, Sunshot, slashing down with a curved saber from horseback in melee. We also see, I think, there's a bolt of lightning, red as crimson, as blood, slams down into the middle of the arena, and we see, like, rising up old Mama Lightning. And immediately she begins
begins to cleave through the battlefield. She is just wrapped and ensconced in these bolts of red lightning. Her face is gleaming with blood from Sunder, the paragon of war, incarnate, Dovrenye Litso. And we even see her like raise a wrinkled hand, and a golden fucking like hammer materializes, thrumming with Thristi's power of creation. And she slams it down, and these jagged teeth of earth explode from underfoot, ripping empty beasts to shreds all around her. And she lets out a full-throated cry and then flings another arm forward, and we see a protective dome of black glass crystallizing over a squadron of Talmadi archers as eyes shoot beams downward and then bounce uselessly off of it. So, other Paragons, Alliance members have fully entered the fray, and on this, we are going to turn our attention to Voska.
Oh boy, I hope you're ready for the 3-step plan I have for this turn. Voska, noticing that the tide is turning, this is the time we need to ride this momentum, swings Parable, wraps it around Dr. Aluso's body, Oblivion's body, and launches herself upwards to meet Oblivion's gaze. And in that split moment, she says, "I've always thought you were so beautiful, old friend." And as she does that, she is going to begin to whip Parable around her. I would like to cast Mass Cure Wounds on everybody. Except Jiran, I'm sorry. Except Jiran, I'm sorry. I can only get 6 people, and I need healing. And as she is doing that, she is speaking to Oblivion as she says, "Love is a blessing. It is a gift. And even in the face of nothing," pulls the dart to her face, and forming in front of her this after image of Atalanta holding her trident right in front of Voska. She says, "Love always prevails. The love of friends, the love of lovers, and the love of compassion." And with that, Atalanta, the after image of Atalanta swings her trident, and these after images go to everybody who's receiving healing. So for Santi and Rev, there is the healing of their love. Over to Jiran and Oka and Kane, it is their love that is enduring. In front of Sitlali and Lilith, it is the love of compassion of one extending their hand over to another. And as she is doing this, she is just like ensconcing herself, making herself vulnerable in this moment as she is healing herself, as she's healing everybody along with Atalanta, and she is just dancing with Atalanta as she tries to land from that momentum.
Oh, valiant love wins Dorian!
It is a threat and a promise.
Okay, yeah, I love that. So, because of Beacon of Hope, everyone gets max healing, right?
Yes, and that will be 53 points of healing for everybody except Jiran, because I cast it at 7th level.
So everyone write that down in your sheets. Oh my god. Okay. I think that's your thing. You heal everyone. As you're up in the air, I think Parable had wrapped around Oblivion's ankle as an anchor point, and you pulled yourself up that way. So I'm gonna need you to make your defense roll now, because that feels like solidly your action. Oh god.
Here's step 3 of my incredible plan, Connie. I'm going to silvery barbs myself as a reaction and grant myself disadvantage so that I can give an advantage as a response to Oka.
Oh! Give advantage to Oka on their next, like, roll?
Whatever they want to do.
Oh, okay.
Whatever throw that is.
I think what this means, because you're giving yourself disadvantage on this defense roll, is you have Oblivion's full and undivided attention. Oblivion looks at you, looks down briefly, sees the portals opening, sees all of these Endokin soldiers slashing her empty beasts to pieces, seeing them beginning to fight on even footing against the entropic monsters even that are now like fully roaming across the arena, across the battlefield, and she looks back up at you, from whom this healing is flowing and flowing and flowing. We see pillars of light light up as all of your allies regain health, regain morale. And we see, for the first time since she's like been like gleeful and just like happily indulging this fight, we see her face darken.
Oh no.
Voska, haven't you learned by now that all good things must come to an end? I am the end. I am annihilation. I am the villain at the end of the story you can never, ever, ever outrun. And no amount of love, no amount of compassion, joy, kindness can change that. Love, Voska, is not my domain. But this is. And I need you to make a wisdom save.
At disadvantage, let's go.
So it cancels out.
Regular.
So it cancels out because the
regular?
beacon of hope. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot what I. Hold on, let me just roll it straight because I forgot what I rolled just now. That is a natural 15 plus 5, 20.
Okay.
The healing also affected you, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
I'm at full health now.
Good to know. So, Voska, as Oblivion says that, you sense like they are channeling this pure negative entropic energy at you, and it just blasts through you. So I need you to take. What's your max health?
157.
156.
57.
Exactly. Points of necrotic damage.
Whew. That is my whole ass. All right.
I think it just like explodes like through you, and that last after image of Atalanta is like ripped away from like the side of your body, just in this explosion of entropic void and shadow that emanates out of Dr. Luso's body. And we see for a split second that black halo like carve into existence above Oblivion's head, and it seems to have emanated out from the halo, but it's gone as soon as you look back at her. Do you understand now, Voska? The absolute gulf between us. I could have killed you there if I wanted to, but I don't quite want to, not yet, because this is still fun for me, Voska. This is still something. This, don't you get it? Is the beautiful implosion of the end of your world. And I am going to do the closest thing to enjoying this that I can. So please, Voska, don't ruin this for me with your grand sermons about love. And we see you, Voska, in like a complete reversal of you initially trying to repel your way back up to Oblivion. She's now holding you, one end on the rope dart, and you on the other. And she slowly lowers both you and herself like down, slowly floating back to the ground, almost gently, almost tenderly, as she says those final words to you. But as soon as your feet, I think, alight onto the ground, she like ripples one end of Parable just once very violently and quickly, and the momentum of it hits you, and I think you're like flung onto the ground, and you smash against the stage, and bits of broken lumber just like crack and kick up in spikes around you. But like the damage you took is like part of that, let's say.
Okay, I was like, I'm at 1 hit point. Am I unconscious now? Damn. All right, no, got it. So I'm back there. Cool.
Yeah, you got it. I'm assuming that's it for the end of your turn. That's it. That's all you're gonna do.
That's my 3 steps.
Voska's 3-step program. Wonderful. So now let's move on to Gentle.
The entropic beasts are still around, correct?
They're everywhere. All 8 of them. They're just around the battlefield, yes?
I think because I feel like going 1v1 with Oblivion won't go well for me. I'll be honest. I'm strong. I'm not that strong. I think I might try to take point against at least 1 or 2 of the entropic beasts. There's snake one, correct?
Yes, there's a two-faced serpent.
Okay, I like the odds of fighting that one, and if plausible, I would like to like sort of do some sort of like whistle, so Bud knows to attack that one as almost like an attack command.
Oh, hell
Bud
yeah.
fight it together.
Awesome. I love it. Bud, gentle combo moves. So how are you launching yourself at this serpent?
Because Bud can't see me, I think I am flying low to see where Bud is. Once I keep eyes with wherever Bud is on the battlefield, I am giving him like an affectionate scratch on the head and like talking to him in Morosi saying, hey, it's me. This is what we're about to hit. We got this. And almost directing it while completely invisible. And I think you just see almost little explosions of punches off of the serpent.
Yeah, okay, so deal your damage and roll as many d20s as you have like specific attacks to make, just to look for those crits.
Beautiful. It's a dangerous proposition.
In either direction, right?
Dangerous proposition either way. Do I get advantage because I'm invisible still or no?
Yeah, I think you do.
Okay. Let's
talk about some crit hunting.
Ah, I got one.
A nat 20?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Just one?
Yeah, only one.
Cool.
But
So let's do damage first. So what's all of the max damage of all of your hits?
not including the nat 20.
Yeah, not including the crit.
So 75, not including the crit.
Wow, okay. And the crit, let's say you can, because we're doing max damage already, you can deal max damage again, and like seize some sort of narrative boon as well. Like do like an extra cool thing.
The only thing I can think of is doing that very like comic book thing where you just get them to wrap their heads around each other because it's two-headed, which would disable in a very goofy
Kind
way.
of like knot it up. Okay.
Essentially, yes. Like
Yeah, all right.
pretty much have it try to follow where these hits are coming from and just kind of while it's lashing out, just get it stuck around itself.
Awesome. So what is damage again? What is one more like max damage?
One more max damage is just another 15. So
15,
90
okay.
damage total.
Whoa, okay, yeah, and Bud is also, as you like are pummeling and punching this thing, you're goading it, I think, into like contorting in the direction and the shape that you want it to contort in. And this thing's already battered from its fight earlier in the week with Jaron, Oka, and Kane. So it's not like at its full health anyway. So as we see these two heads like weaving through the air, we see this massive head like belching, I think, a gout of flame, and another head belching like pure, just cold shards of ice shooting out from its gaping maw. But you're weaving and dodging and trying to like avoid this damage while goading it and baiting it at the exact same time. And I think Bud also launches himself forward, leaps through the air, and starts like attacking this thing like a tiny little wasp stinging like something that's much larger than it. So what is max damage for Bud? I believe it's Dire Wolf stats. So I'm also just gonna look it up real fast. Okay, that's 2d6 plus 3, so that is 15. That kills it. That kills it. So that's like over 100 damage total. So Gentle, how do you take this thing out?
There's almost a bit as I'm goading it lower as well. So as I'm getting closer, Bud's also able to get some like serious crunches on. And I think it's as simple as that, as eventually reach the point where I think Bud is running alongside the back of it, just getting bites in as I'm punching it and like giving it the necrotic damage too. And it just sort of gets overwhelmed in almost in like a Shadow of the Colossus way. It just sort of like ceases.
Yeah, like as it like wraps itself up and all the blows from you and Bud, and I think also the other like fighters on the battlefield, like the Talmadi archers, the Kyrian cavalry, right, the infantry from Nabal, everyone is also wailing on the base of this thing. It eventually just like wraps itself up so tight that it just seems to squeeze its own life force out and then topple down and just hit the ground in this like a massive explosion of dust and just rocks and pebbles flying everywhere. Like we see it from the perspective of the soldiers on like the ground level, just this huge like dust storm basically gets kicked up from the falling body of this thing, and it's still. And like as the dust just like slowly withers away and like clears this area, we see this entropic beast begin to dissipate in shards of just black dust, just fluttering up and just vanishing into nothingness. And Gentle, I think for the end of your turn, just make a general defense roll to see how well you weather the blows from this thing, I think. So it's either going to be a dex save or a con save, up to you.
You know it's going to be a dex save. I'm a monk. What are you asking? 26.
26. Okay, I think taken together, you are going to take 15 points of fire damage and 20 points of cold damage from the two heads.
I'm going to be obnoxious. I got some questions real quick.
Yeah, what's up?
What does that have to do in regards to the fact that I get evasion because I'm a fucking monk?
That doesn't factor in here.
Damn it.
This isn't a binary pass-fail.
Would help me.
Yeah, I know.
Damn it. Fine. Okay. So that was 15 and 20?
Yes. So
Okay.
35 total.
Were those halved already?
Oh, do you resist both?
I resist everything but force right now because I'm invisible still.
Yes. So that is not halved. So that will bump down to 17 total.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Wonderful. So now we are going to flash across the battlefield to Vasanti.
When last we met them, I think the camera pans. Rev and Vasanti are still in a kiss. Vasanti in flames around the kiss. I think they're now slowly glowing a little bit from the healing energy that Vaska has sent Vasanti's way. And I think we have a nice camera pan closer and closer to Vasanti's hand, which as she was about to go for the kiss, she had picked up a tarot card without looking at it. And we can just see in her hand, I really did pull this, the Lover's card.
Oh, I love that.
So I imagine this one's like Lover's card with Scott and Nectus wrapped in each other. And Vasanti is going to hold that card. This isn't what she's casting with. She's actually going to cast Detect Thoughts and go inside of Rev's mind and ask, is it true?
And I think as we sink into Rev's mind, we see just like a graveyard somewhere in the court. We just see like rows and rows and rows of graves and tombs, some of them unmarked, some of them not. And you can see like names in Raven's speech etched on every single one of these headstones. And these are the names of everyone she's ever reaped in Grimm. She's standing there in the middle of her consciousness, and you're standing there with her, smelling like grave dirt, sweet rot, death, the blood of life. It's just graves as far as you can see, with some cypress trees curling up out of the knotted ground. Her back is to you. You can just see like the back of her like shaved head with that short black hair and her feathery cape.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do without you?
At that, she lifts her head and turns it sideways to look at you through the eye that is the Raven Queen's, that pure black eye.
Live, Vasanti. That's what all of you should do without me. Live. I was never even supposed to be back in the first place. Vasanti, I died. And something greater even than the 8 brought me back. And now I know what it is. It was fate. Destiny may have brought me back, Vasanti. But I go out on my own terms. And if my death can be of value, if my death can be of worth, if it can save Endake, save everyone, I mean, you'd understand, wouldn't you? That's a risk I'm willing to take.
Vasanti is full on crying at this. Will I see you in the beyond?
And Rev turns around fully to look at you, sort of like silhouetted by like a dim raven's wing like light behind her.
No. For this to work, Vasanti, for this to fully work, I'll be gone, and so will the God Shard of the Raven Queen. If we beat her, bring back our world, death and life will be forever shattered. But it will be worth it, Vasanti. Better to have a broken world than no world at all, right?
I don't know. And I think Vasanti is so becoming overwhelmed with emotion, tied also with this magic she's doing, that the way that she's sort of mind connected with Rev in the past a few times is starting to like go uncontrollably. It's like first kiss, one of the times Rev has saved her, all of the nights they've laid together, the jokes they've had about the rest of the group when they're alone private, every little thing is just ripping through her mind. And because they're still connected to each other, like Vasanti's heart is just pouring love into Rev, like through this magic. And I think she's just gonna look at Rev, tears streaming. I owe everything to you, and I will never stop loving you.
You're not trying to stop her. You're just telling her how you feel.
Yeah, I think Vasanti is aware that there's no... When Rev has her mind set up, I don't think Vasanti thinks it's possible to change her mind on this.
You can feel your gods inside you struggling against this, right? Skad and Nectus, also, fucked up by Duran's corruption, by the way. They are also feeling the pain, I think. Skad and Nectus are rising inside your chest, like fighting against this. They can feel your heart cracking open, Vasanti. You've lost so many people. You've lost Sievert, you lost Paya, even to a degree. I mean, you lost Tyrion too, and now Rev? All this loss, all this grief is bleeding through you into them, not to mention that empty corruption that binds you to Duran. And you feel your god struggling against you, and for your defense roll, I need you to make a wisdom save.
Just picking my least... Okay, but I still have advantage, right?
Yes, you do, actually, yes.
An 11 total.
An 11. Okay. Alright, it's gonna hurt a little bit, Vasanti. So I think the pain comes from as Scott and Nectus rise up inside you, they briefly, like, that investiture of flame flickers briefly, as they're trying to, like, you get the feeling they're trying to speak through you, trying to entreat not Rev, but the Raven Queen inside Rev. And as their voices surge inside your throat, you feel the pain of that empty monstrification, like, latch in that brief moment of, like, losing focus. It just, like, tears through you. So you're gonna take 70 points of necrotic damage. As Duran's monstrification also gouges sharp psionic claws through your soul. And then, breathlessly coming out of your mouth are Skad and Nectus's entwined voices, begging Rev, or rather begging the Raven Queen. And we hear Skad go, "Don't do this, sister. This isn't the way. We need you." And Nectus chimes in and says, "There is no reward worth this risk. Please, come back to us. We need death and life in equal measure. This is not the way." And coming out of Rev's throat, the Raven Queen's melodic, whispering voice, "We do what needs to be done." And Skad chimes in and says, "What if there was another way?" And we're gonna cut to Oka and Duran. So, back on the battlefield, we're gonna start with Oka. We can deal with your turns, I think, simultaneously because you're embroiled in a fight. So we can just sort of like push back and forth between the two of you. How are the two of you fighting each other? Oka first.
Well, I think that giant storm tempest wolf Oka kind of had Duran's monstrous form like in their teeth and was kind of like, you know, thrashing them around a bit. And then I think like a face stealer clamps onto their back leg and they let go and kind of whirl on it. And I think they even take a few moments to almost like deal with this onslaught of empty beasts, because I get the feeling that they're attracted to Jiran. So they're kind of like swarming all around all of them, like in their own like central path of storm and emptiness and monstrosity. And I am going to use my lightning storm attack at some point in this endeavor.
Okay.
To go.
Yeah, I think we're gonna pan over now to the Jiran beast.
Jiran, I think this entire time, Jiran is in there somewhere, fighting this monsterification, fighting this corruption in their psyche, and I think they are trying their hardest to claw their way back in. And if I may, GM, oh kind benevolent GM, I think for a moment, Jiran manages to seize control of their psyche, of their mind, just for a moment, just long enough that from behind you, Oka, you hear this like howl, this yelp almost like come out of Jiran's mouth, out of their maw. And the empty beast that you were fighting, Connie, if I may, I think falls to the ground and dies immediately as Jiran sucks the life force literally out of that empty beast in order to, 1, protect you, and 2, regain some hit points, if I may.
Yeah, you regained 50.
And at some point, I would also like to attack you back, but I will.
Okay, we'll defer back to Oka now. We bounce back to Oka as you see this empty beast get eaten by Jiran.
And I think like Monster Oka whirls, right? And they know that is such a quintessential Jiran thing to do, to take harm into themselves.
And I think as you whirl around and you look back at Jiran, one of the eyes, not the ones that are Jiran's eyes, but one of the ones just like on their face somewhere, I think flickers for a second, where you can see Jiran's blackberry purple pupils just for a moment before they blink and it's back to the blood red eyes of the stranger.
And Oka knows it's still him in there. They know. They're still in there. And I think the wolf, like the storm wolf, the tempest, lunges again, and as its like huge maw made of like its teeth made of red lightning like opens, the back of the storm kind of like collapses in on itself as Oka like almost phases through the cloud in their actual form, right? And they almost like land on Jiran's face, like on his face, and just like in just their humanoid form, right? Almost like pleading, screaming at him, letting go of that first attack to just like hold on to these like ragged bits of shadow and emptiness, and they're almost trying to like push their hand into his chest to reach for that thing that they know so well, his heart.
When you land on Jiran's face, I think their instinct, because they only had control for a moment, because I think it's gone. Before that eye goes back to being the blood red eye of the stranger, before the monster takes over again in their psyche. And I think their first instinct is to try and like shake you off of them, off of their face in some way. But I think you probably managed to hold on long enough to keep yourself there. And I think all of their arms, how many ever limbs that they've grown, and it feels like they're growing new ones the longer and longer that this fight goes on. I think all of them kind of like wrap around you, almost as if they're hugging you in a way, and they pull you in tight against their body, but you can feel their claws like elongate and start to puncture into your own skin as they do that. And their own mouth, I think, opens, and a second mouth kind of like, you can see a second one inside of the first one as they go, and I think letting you puncture into their own chest, Jiran goes to bite you as if they were going to literally eat you whole.
Why don't the two of you trade blows?
Yeah.
So just tell me what max damage is on each other.
I'm not attacking this round.
Ooh.
Okay. You take 60 damage, 20 piercing, 40 poison.
Okay. And as the bite kind of comes down over Oka, they almost lean into it, soften into it, and they like whisper into your maw. We made a promise. Jiran, we made a promise. We made a promise. Please don't leave me. And I am going to use my bond of tethering on you as like you bite into them and their blood connects.
What does that do again?
It's fine. I will know where you are at any point. I have a damage increase for you. You cannot take the dashed action or be teleported away from me. And if you move out of range together, you will take damage. So we have to be close.
Nothing closer than if I eat you, so.
Okay. I think as the two of you are grappling onto each other, right, with like Jiran's huge double mouth clamping onto your shoulder, we're actually gonna pan back to like a larger bird's eye view of this battlefield, right? We see just clashing empty and Dakin forces in every part of the Badlands, the shattered stage, Oblivion above it all, laughing, now whirling, conducting the symphony of chaos. And we're gonna pan back into the vault. Abiku! Back in the dream realm, in this ghostly, radiant version of the vault, you look at Dr. Eluso, right? They've just told you everything they know about Oblivion's vulnerabilities, let's say, as you're surrounded by the ghosts of every ancestor that's lived and died in the realms, and that vague, melodic, wordless, beautiful, uplifting song from Tungal. What do you do?
Okay, so everyone else is maybe seconds from, getting
insta-killed, yes.
Not even killed, like a gun.
Yes, fed to the seed, which will then bloom and destroy reality as we know it.
Good. Okay. Good. Yes. We should go. There's one thing I need to do first, though. You wait here. Unless, do you have something else? Abika says like turns around.
No, please, go ahead.
Okay. And Abika then walks back towards the wherever like the queen and her dads were and stuff. Your Majesty, I have a dress to make. If you could get everyone's attention.
Yeah, I love that. She nods and turns as like this crowded vault. It's like a coliseum, like dozens of coliseums worth of people. She turns and addresses, raises a hand, and I think you feel like this pulse wave, ghostly magic emanate off of Queen Undu, like in these rolling ephemeral clouds that just like mist off of her form, and as they roll over the vault, everyone's eyes snap toward you.
Hello everybody. I am, I guess, Lieutenant Abiku Ishtar. Am with the Cloud Kingdom, and I'm sure many of you know who I am. But I don't know if you all know what is happening to our home. It's called Endake now, and there are some great people, there are some great cultures that have sprung up where we used to call home. Some of them look like we remember them, some don't. Some have some of our customs passed down, some do not, but they are all beautiful people, and I think you would be proud of what has happened to our home in our absence. It is in danger, and I have friends hoping to save it. I hope to help them save it, but while we do that, a lot of people might get hurt, and, well, your home needs you one more time if you would come with me.
I love that, Abiku. Yeah, as you say that, there's like, you see a ripple of movement as like your ancestors are nodding and looking at each other. You see a couple of them having sharpened their ghostly weapons. They like tuck their whetstones away and hoist them up. You know, these massive battle axes and mauls and tridents and spears and bows, even like crossbows and cannons from like an artillery unit. I think you even spy in the distance your original artillery unit that you surface on the field. You like see them, like you see your group of people like out there in the corner. And you also see like draconic mages cracking their necks, sparks of power reverberating off of their fists, off of their horns, off of their tails, their spines, their teeth, their ears, right? And then I think Queen Undu speaks. Lieutenant Ishtar, I'm afraid there is a hiccup, as some might say. You alone will not be enough of a conduit to lead us, specters of a broken after, back into the now. There were 2 of you, yes? And Abiku, that's when you hear and feel a presence, like I think just on that perfectly timed, wash out from behind you, like a warm, familiar presence, and you hear a voice go, she's not alone. And you see Shrinyi. She has appeared in this space, like directly behind you, flanked by your fathers. Tall, proud, beautiful as always, just as corporeal, flesh and blood as you are.
Oh, yes, I am never alone. Also, Shunyi, these are my fathers I've told you about. This is Shunyi.
Hello, we've never met because you died, sir, before we, anyway, but I've always wanted to meet you, but I've never, this is awkward. Anyway, and she like steals herself, right, and like goes back to like the kind of like badass, like knuckle brawling kind of Shrini that you've always known. She shakes her head and goes, anyway, all that aside, Abiku, I'm so sorry it took me so long to find you. Halo and the Emperor and now Wu Ming, they did our best to feed my dreaming spirit to you. But no matter how far away you are from me, darling, no matter what dimension you're in, what plane, what reality, what time, I'll always find you.
I know. I made it easier, and Abiku touches the cloud she gave her on her cheek.
And she reaches up and touches it, and you see the cloud blush a little, like it turns a little pink. And she smiles and then turns her, clenches her fingers into a tight fist, and that same like big, brutal, ruthless grin spreads across her mouth that you've always seen her do whenever she's about to get into a scrap. Like she smiles when she fights, right? That's her thing. Mm-hmm. She looks at you and says, well, Queen Undu, I know last time we met it was under less than favorable circumstances. And Queen Undu, like without missing a beat, says, yes, you were the enemy soldier, but water under the bridge. And Shrini goes, yes, of course. My queen, your queen, Queen Undu. Are you ready, Abiku?
Yes, I think we will be able to do this now that you are here, because I kind of gave you half of my juice, as it were, but, and Abiku will, like, take Shini's hands, and I think use that keeper skill I have to like channel the Raven Queen.
Yeah.
And look up at the Queen. Your Majesty, you're probably, you're the strongest person here that I know. If you would not mind joining the circle.
Certainly. And how about the other rulers of the past realms as well? And you see stepping forward like all the rulers of all the kingdoms. They step forward and it's like holy shit, like these are the people that you would have bowed to, right? When you were alive.
Yes, those two, I just did not, I went to meetings and stuff with you. I did not, yes, please, all of your highnesses and majesties as, yes, and yes. Looks at Shuni. Do you bow for your leaders? I did not remember. I never met them. Do you bow? Do you
Well, it depends on the order, but in my order, we chattered our teeth and we sparked lightning. No, not like. I think you just chomp your teeth in a direction of a draconic mage who looks at you kind of disdainfully, and then they make like a clicking noise in the back of their throat. And Shrini makes the clicking noise back, and she just turns back to you and says, "That's not what I meant." Oh God.
Oh,
that's okay. That's okay.
I will just stand here. I will just wait for everyone to get into the circle.
I love that. I think all the rulers of the various orders, the various clans, kingdoms, factions step forward as, their loved ones as well, the representatives, and like the other soldiers, the foot soldiers, the infantry, the cavalry in the back, they like prepare their weapons, they prepare their magic, and they stand at the ready. And a huge circle, I think, forms with you a part of it. You and Shrini and Queen Undu as well. You see all the other rulers of various kingdoms and queendoms. You see King Garva of the Frost Kingdom, Queen Zalu of the Stone Kingdom, King Wen of the Hill Kingdom, Ruler Patsu of the Fire Kingdom, and a familiar looking Fire Kingdom human who looks strikingly like Visanti a little bit, kind of behind Ruler Patsu. You also see Ruler Fiki, and of course your own Queen Undu. Right, and you all sort of join ranks with the Draconic mages and the leaders of their orders as well. And I think, do you like hold out hands, or like how are you trying to like channel this?
I think it's a Bhikkhu and Shuni in the middle, holding hands, and then them in a circle around them. And for a moment, the Bhikkhu just stops and looks. This would have been a better wedding. I am sorry. Maybe when this is over, we can have one.
We'll throw the greatest wedding the Beyond has ever seen.
Okay. And like I said, she's going to reach out. Hello, my other queen. I know how you typically feel about this sort of thing, but I'm hoping we can make an exception to save Vendake.
And inside your consciousness, you feel like ravens' wings spreading, feathers fluttering up toward unbridled horizon. The Raven Queen's voice reverberate and say, "Give them hell."
Okay. And I think it's okay. I see. I don't know if it'll work. But it's like a Bhikkhu and Shuni's eyes, like a Bhikkhu's eyes glow white and Shuni's eyes glow purple.
Yeah.
And this, like, at the door out of the vault, like a rift opens that a Bhikkhu tells people, like, now. And like first, like you see like Silvereye and Blackbeak, with hopefully with the Forgotten Guards like fly through, and then like she starts filing. Like having people file through.
Yeah.
Would I see if this works?
Yes, I love that. As you and Trini join hands and the Raven Queen's power surges through you, your eyes turn sheer white and hers turn sheer purple, and this magic, like a tornado, whips up inside the vault. And you hear your people beginning to like chant and cry out their various different war cries and their battle hymns and like pounding their spears against the ground, getting ready to go out. And then you see these two glowing birds, one glowing bright purple, one glowing bright white, just like the color of you and your love. Blackbeak and Silvereye, like careen, like shooting toward that portal that spirals open by the vault door. They clear right through it, and just like that, the song goes out. Tungal song, humming, high, spirals out in like a golden, unraveling musical note. And following that music is every single ancestor of the Titans. And on that, before we get too far, we're gonna cut back to the battlefield. And now, we're back on the stage. Back on the blasted, crimson battlefield littered with corpses, choked with blood and bone-white ash, filled with the screams of monsters and soldiers, the rending of steel against flesh, magic against soul. And at the end of this round, Oblivion flings their arms open, their golden hair ruffling in the desiccated wind, and they snap. And that big, glowing 7 in the middle of the blood-red sky counts down to 6. And all at once, slowly at first and then quickly gaining momentum, every single eye in the sky begins to light up. There is a noise, like the world's largest Tesla coil charging, the smell of coppery, empty static stifling the air, a thick miasma of rust coagulating through the atmosphere, hanging in the backs of your throats like an ill omen. And simultaneously,
from every single eye in the sky, beams of energy punch down and into Oblivion. And these beams are as thick as buildings, as fast as lightning, and in their wake, they demolish hills, they puncture through lakes, they scorch fields of lush green grass into blackened ichor. But as soon as this magical, vacuous lightning fizzles away, as soon as that final tendril of entropic electricity fades into non-existence, we see that Oblivion is not only unharmed, but glowing. A parhelion of void magic, staggering in its tenebrosity, halos their skin. They are thrumming with power beyond logical comprehension, a hot heat shimmer of energy that literally bends the light around their floating form. Their hair is as gold as the blood of gods. Their eyes are blue like chips of twilight. And Oblivion rolls Dr. Eluso's head on her neck and straightens her gaze across this chaotic battlefield stretched beneath her. Once more, then, with feeling. And we're going to end the session there. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Arc 8, Episode 4 of Transplanar RPGs: The Second Stranger. I have been your GM and creative producer, Connie. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me all across the internet at ByConnieChang, BYCON, and ICHANG. I'm going to pass introductions up and along to our very own Abiku Ishtar, Austin.
Hey everybody, what's up? My name's Austin. My pronouns are he, they, she. You can find me on Twitter at SailorScott. That's Sailor SCT Austin. I play Biku Ishtar. His pronouns are she, they, and I'm gonna pass it over to Val.
Hi, I sure am Val, and I sure am witnessing that. Hello, everybody. I'm Valiant Dorian. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a Twitch variety streamer, TTRPG performer, and GM and writer now, I guess. Anyway, I do cool stuff sometimes. Come and check me out, and you can check me out at Valiant Dorian or at Also Spirit Bear. Please enjoy that lovely treasure hunt I just set you on. And tonight I had the distinct pleasure of playing Voska, the Paragon of Nebuza, our resident Snady who's at 1 hit point. It's gonna be fine. Dare, take this away from me, please.
Yeah, one? Anyway, hi, I'm Dare, pronouns she, they, they. Thank you all for being here as we try not to die. I was the only one who was brave enough to hit Oblivion, so jot that down. Anyway, you can find me on the internet at Dare to Dream RPG. That is DARE, the number 2, DREAM RPG, where I'm just hot in places. It's just easier. Words fail me. I'm going to throw it over to Erica.
Hi everybody, I'm Erica, she, her pronouns, and I played Vasanti Nakshurzo, who spent the entire fight talking to her fiance, like you do, and she's at -7 hit points. Yay! So yeah, you can find me at Erica Please here on Twitch. That's Erica PLZ, where I play a gay cowgirl on Red Dead Redemption roleplay. And I'm gonna pass it on to Quinn.
Hi, hello, I'm Quinn, pronouns they, them, and I have been your Sitlali today. It's okay, everyone. I have so many healing spells right now. We're gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I am an award-nominated TTRPG designer, sensitivity reader, actual play performer. You can keep up with my projects over on Twitter at Quintastic_, and I'll pass it over to Max.
Hey, I'm Max. My pronouns are they, them. I've played Shiny Bird, definitely Endangered Dewey. You can find me on the internet at Starchmonger. That's Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And I'll pass things to Hamna.
Yes, hello. My name is Hamna. I use any and all pronouns, and I am a TTRPG performer. You can find me on Twitter at @shahid_, where I talk about all of the different projects that I'm a part of. And today I have been Jaron Gather, who uses they, he pronouns, who is fine. We're fine. We're gonna not... Monster-ification is fine, right? It's okay. C, go.
Hi, my name is C. I use they, them pronouns. I'm here to call Humna's bluff. And tonight I played Oka Hien, allofmyboyfriendsaremonsters.com. So that's been me. You can find me making very trans, very gay art on the internet at PieSharp Art. I'm sure there's new stuff that I've been making, so check it out. And that's it. Connie, take it away.
For once, Kane is the least monstrous boyfriend of them all. So we are going to be rating someone really awesome right now, no doubt. Use the raid message in chat, throw them a follow. If you like their stuff, tell them this ridiculousness that he just came from. And other than that, we're going to stream our next episode next Saturday at 8 p.m. US Eastern Time right here on twitch.tv/transplanarrpg. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your pets, tell your dog, tell your cat about this. We'd love to have them join and witness the trauma. And peace out until next weekend.